And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get set to go racing at the track Too Tough to Tame. This is Darlington Raceway as we prepare for the 5th race of the season for the newly named G4 Sim Racing Hijinx Company Motorsports Division Vintage Cup Series. And we are getting ready for 187 laps. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Samuel Dyer. And Sam, I think we can easily say, we're ready, the fans are ready, but are the drivers ready for what's probably going to be the toughest race they've run so far this season?
Yeah, I mean, usually we think Atlanta was going to be one of the harder tracks out here just because of how much the track was changing with all the different times the track temp would just go up and down. And honestly, we're going to be seeing almost the same exact racing, and it will be a lot tougher this time around. As Darlington, it's all about getting as close to the outside wall and not hitting the wall, but I'm expecting these cars to be loose and just to continue getting looser and looser throughout this race.
Front row today is going to be comprised of last week's winner. That is Jake Hounshell, trying to become a 2-time winner this season, along with Blaine Atkin. Alongside of him is Christopher Morse. He is the highest running driver in the point standings that has not yet gone to victory lane.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be an interesting race to watch out for these drivers, and it's going to be a fun one for sure. Gerald Campbell and Tyler Riggs going to be your second row. And then you've got a couple other drivers that are going to be coming out here and trying to put on a show. We had only 8 drivers qualify for this race, a total of 17 drivers racing here today. So a lot of drivers that I was expecting to be up front, going to be starting in the middle or in the back of the pack. So they're going to get through all this traffic.
You can see we're running in daytime conditions, and a thing you touched on while we were watching these drivers in qualifying, Sam, where drivers trying to wait for a little bit of cloud cover to be able to go out there and turn a qualifying lap. And the track, all through practice, has been slick. Seen a lot of drivers spinning off of corner exit, whether it be off of turn 2 or off of turn 4, and that seems to be typical Darlington.
It really is, and I think that's why we're used to seeing the drivers in real life racing at night just to help with that slickness. But out here, pace car rolls off. Track time's going to be 126 starting now. We'll see how it inflects going up and down, but it's going to be Hounshell leading the way coming off of 4.
Jake Hounshell, who had that unbelievable restart last week when he took the checkered flag at Atlanta, and boy, they stacked up.
Yeah, it's going to be Gerald Campbell on the inside getting some contact, as well as the 46.
Oh, my God.
Tyler Riggs into the wall immediately.
3 or 4 cars went up into the wall into turn 1.
I mean, that's just how much this car just wants to suck up to the wall. And a lot of these drivers, they got to be careful coming off of the corner because the wall's just going to sneak up on them. But it's going to be up front. It's going to be Morris in the 3 machine getting up into the lead.
So Riggs up into the wall. Blaine Atkin clobbered the wall as well. He's dropped back to 16th place. Another car on the wall back there. I think that was John Whitendorf in the 33. And boy, you go to Darlington, you're used to drivers getting the Darlington stripe, but these drivers may not have any right side left.
No, they went 3 wide up in the back. More contact being made. That's going to be the 07 that goes down low. But it looked like it was Eldridge in the middle of all that. They were 3 wide entering turn number 1, and it just did not work out well, and they are still all on top of one another.
That's Seth Harrelson making his debut here in the series. That 07 Clemson machine is... Boy, these drivers, we've seen them slideways go into the corners at Daytona, at Atlanta, but at a track where it's so slick like Darlington, that rear spoiler being as low as it is, these drivers are going to be fighting that wheel every single lap. And that's why I said this may be one of the more grueling races for these drivers due to the fact they've got 187 circuits to have to deal with this.
Weatherby gets into the wall in the back in 13th position, but I think the car that's taken the most damage so far, it's got to be Tom Eldridge. Back in 15th position. He has just been a pinball, getting knocked all over the place in that 96 machine. He's all the way back in 15th, trying to make a way back. But I'm imagining if we get a caution, that 96 machine is going to use a fast repair.
Looking at the battle for 5th place, we saw John Whitendorf into the wall off of 4 a couple of laps ago, but he's been able to recover and now is battling with Joseph Causey, that bright pink Superflow machine, and he will look to the inside, trying to take that position away, but With the cars so out of shape going into the corner here, how much passing do you think we're really going to see at Darlington?
It's going to be a lot of drivers trying to make a slide job into the inside and trying to get under, as you're starting to see here for fifth. I mean, it's so difficult because if you try to come on the inside, you're actually going to get the wrong arc into the corner for 1 and 2 and for 3 and 4 if you come inside too much, as that's going to be Whitendorf into the wall hard for that 33 machine.
And he's going to lose the spot. He's going to drop all the way back to 7th. Dallas Myhand gets around. You see an exchange there as Bo Brady loses a couple spots. Jeff Green up to 9th. Blaine Atkin up to 10th. And Mal Brady into the wall there through 3 and 4. Weatherby has to take evasive action as he had just gotten around Robert Hedges. Now he's going to move up to 11th, getting around Brady as well.
During practice, all the drivers were saying is, can we just push that outside wall of 4 just a little bit more? Because they just kept on clobbering it over and over again during practice. And these drivers, most of them have already absolutely destroyed it as Bo Brady goes around.
No caution as he's down out of the racing line. Looks like he would have enough room to turn the car around, but instead he's going to teleport it to pit road. Battle is on for the lead as they just went around that 9 machine on pit road. Gerald Campbell all over the back bumper of Christopher Morse.
And he's got to be careful, Gerald Campbell, in that 31 machine. He's got to make sure not to come with too much momentum off the corner and getting into the wall, but he is right there on the back bumper of the 3 machine of Christopher Morris. And Morris is he's got to make sure that he could just hold off the 31 for a couple more laps here. But every lap that ticks away, these drivers are going to lose more and more grip, even though they already started with practically none.
Slow car ahead. That's Hank Steinmiller, in the 75 car, who we saw have a pretty good showing last time out at Atlanta. But he's run into early issues and is about maybe a quarter of a straightaway away from going a lap down. Question is, when these 2 leaders get to him, where does he go to try and get out of the way? Hopefully it'd be on the straightaway. I think they might catch him here coming to the start-finish line.
Yeah, Steinmiller was actually one of those drivers I was thinking was going to drive through the pack and get up front. He was running in the top 5 for practice time, so very surprised to see the 75 machine all the way back in 16th position, being the last car on track as Bo Brady just parked it in the back.
Dallas Myhand was just bypassed by Brandon Brown. Moved Brown up to the 6th position. John Whitendorf back there as well. And the thing people need to remember about Darlington as well, what makes it so unique is the fact that this is a track, if you looked at it from an aerial view, it is shaped like an egg, meaning that the top part, 3 and 4, it's actually a little bit smaller, a little bit more condensed than 1 and 2, which is a sweeping couple of corners. Most tracks we go to, whether it be a 1.5 mile, a 2-mile speedway, turns 1 and 2 are pretty much the same as 3 and 4, but not here at Darlington.
Yeah, I think the closest track that I could think of that's pretty similar to this would be Worldwide Technology Raceway, except for the fact that this racetrack's just got a little bit more banking everywhere around the course. And I'm looking back here, Weatherby clobbering the outside wall once again in that 24 machine and just struggling to get around here. Cars I'm surprised that aren't up front. Blaine Atkin in 9th position for that 05. Surprised that he's all the way back here in the middle of the pack.
Well, he's trying to work on a road to recovery here as he, along with Tyler Riggs, were 2 of the drivers that went up and pounded the outside wall going into the very first corner on the very first lap of this race. Atkin's been able to work his way up 7 spots since dropping back to 16th. He's now up to 9th, and we do have a driver already out of the race. We saw Bo Brady spun around on the back straightaway. He's brought his machine to pit road. It's Atkin up and into the wall. That allows Jeff Green to close in for 10th place, or make that actually for 9th place. That's where Green's running right now, currently in the top 10.
Yeah, Jeff Green is actually one of those other drivers I'm surprised isn't running up front, but they've all clobbered the wall so early that it's just set them back compared to our leaders, which are top 2 of Morris and Campbell. Both have scraped the wall here or there as Campbell gets right into the wall in the middle of 3 and 4. So that 31 machine, he's trying his best to try to keep up with the 3, but every single time he hits the wall, he's losing more and more time.
And here comes the pole sitter, Jake Hounshell, going to look for 2nd place on Campbell now. This going on about a full second behind race leader Christopher Morse. And then there's Tyler Riggs from the 26, another driver that we know has got some right side damage, has sustained an early Darlington stripe, but right now in that 4th position, trying to see if he can close in, make this a 3-man fight for the runner-up spot.
12 of Brandon Brown has smacked the wall off a 2, almost dumped it into the inside wall, but that 40, take that back, it actually was Causey that got into the wall, I should say, in the 46 machine, as he is still cruising along in 5th place, but he's got some hungry drivers behind him.
The one thing I've noticed here, and I don't know if it's just the slick conditions, just the way that this track works, but I've seen a couple of guys get up there into the wall, and it doesn't really seem to slow their momentum. A lot of times, see them get up into the wall, it's almost like the wall hugs you in. It's like a magnet and it will not let you go. But some of these guys, they've gotten up there, brushed the wall, been able to get off it, and not lose as much momentum as I would have thought they would have.
Yeah, I mean, Darlington is kind of like Bristol in a way, where you actually, if you hit the wall properly, and admins are usually watching out for this trick, but in turns 3 and 4, if you hit the wall right at the apex of the corner, it can actually bounce you down and give you the momentum to actually go faster than if you just ran the regular course. But the only drawback is you keep on just damaging that right side more and more and more by doing that trick, and at some point your car is going to give. But most of the time, admins are watching that to make sure that you're not doing it. You will be given a couple warnings so that you don't get seen utilizing tools that you really shouldn't be using out here on track.
Someone's had an issue. I don't know who it was, but I saw some engine smoke down the inside of the front straightaway.
That's the 11 machine.
Randy Koking is going to be bringing his car. This is actually what used to be pit road on the back straightaway, but then all the pit stalls were moved over to the front stretch. But he's using this to be able to get out of the way of all of the leaders, using this to be able to limp that number 11 back to pit road.
Yeah, the only issue here for Randy Koking is that since his engine blew up, he is not able to gain any more speed, and he'll come to a complete stop and tow it to his pit stall and try to use one of his fast repairs to get back out there. But a rough day for that 11 machine already.
Well, something's happened to Gerald Kimball in the last lap or so, as he was battling moments ago with Jake Houndshell. Now he's drifted all the way back to third and now has that under contest. That's Tyler Riggs trying to get to his inside.
Well, all these cars on the lead lap, they were already struggling, but with lap machines now becoming a thing, you've got lap cars that are running slower than you, as well as also getting in the wall the same time that you are. So these drivers have to be careful with lap machines scatter within our top 10, not to get in contact with them, and also not to make contact with the outside wall.
Joseph Causey right now in the 5th position. This is not a battle for position as he's trying to get around the lap machine of Hank Steinmiller. Will do so. Brandon Brown, Dallas Myhan back there as well. So that's 5th, 6th, and 7th at the moment.
Oh, Myhan absolutely clobbers the wall again, and that 41 came to almost a complete stop with how hard he hit that wall and the angle that he came in.
So we've seen a lot of drivers with a lot of damage getting up into that outside wall. I think that it'd be very difficult to go through the field and see a driver that does not have at least some cosmetic damage, but there's got to be a point, I would think, where you hit the wall enough.
Kazi went straight from the outside wall to the inside wall. I think the 46 is finally taking too much damage for that machine to keep going, as he's going to keep on chugging along, not bringing it into the pits just yet.
That's exactly the point I was going to bring up. I mean, how many hits can you take before you finally have to bring that car to pit road?
Well, I mean, we've only ran 20 laps or so for these drivers, and that 46 machine, I've seen at least half of these laps hit the outside wall coming off a 2 and just shoot it to the inside. Most of the time, he saves it before he hits the inside wall, but a lot of these cars are drifting out of these corners, which makes it so loose and so hard to keep the car under yourself.
And I assume that the damage as well would affect how the car runs for the remainder of at least the run up to the potential green flag pit stop, or maybe for the rest of the race, depending on how long you want to wait to be able to use that fast repair. Saw Dallas Myhan moments ago get hard up into the wall, and he's lost a few spots now. Blaine Akin got around him. Jeff Green pulls a slide job as we almost were looking 3 wide there through 1 and 2. 33 of John Weindorf. Oh, Tyler Riggs has spun it off of 2. He's down against the inside wall in the back straightaway.
Tyler Riggs came off of 2, hitting the wall, and he was not able to save that machine as it came crashing into the inside wall, just twirling himself around. It looks like he didn't blow the engine, but that extremely hard hit for the front end.
Now, I know we talked about this last week at Atlanta with the fact that, the new tire model has come in for iRacing, not quite as much wear, but all these drivers slipping and sliding around, and those long spins with this high track temperature, I would have to think, doesn't matter what the iRacing template is for the tires, that's going to start wearing those tires down a lot more.
Oh yeah, I mean with them slipping and sliding, that's causing wear and tear even more. Also the fact that they're running on a track temp that's 127 degrees. That is one of the hottest tracks that you're going to be seeing out here. These guys running all season long. So the track's slick, the tires are going away from you. It's just a tough day overall.
Right now, the fastest car on track would have to be two-time winner Blaine Atkin. He has worked his way up in 23 laps time from 16th to 5th, and he, even in traffic, is running lap times equal to race leader Christopher Morse Jr. And I think the thing that's just as impressive is the fact, we've seen so many different incidents here today. We've had a couple of cars loop it off of turn 2, but so far, 24 laps, and we have yet to see a caution.
That is probably the biggest surprise, but at the same time, this track, the infield is really the actual track surface itself is actually quite narrow compared to the actual where the caution what meter you would say or section the drivers look out for is Blaine Atkins hard into the outside wall through 3 and 4.
And that's going to open the door for Brandon Brown, and Brown thought about going down to the apron through 3 and 4, which is considered a racing line. That double that dotted white line is just there kind of as a reference point for drivers to know where the apron starts and the banking ends. But we've seen before drivers actually go down there to make passes, especially if someone in front of you has a loss of momentum and you've got to take your momentum somewhere.
Yeah, I mean you got to try and put your car somewhere that it can, and right now they're trying caution in the back.
Nicholas Weatherby in the 24 is finally going to bring out the yellow as he loops it on the back straightaway.
Same spot we've been seeing all race long. I think he hit the wall a little bit sooner than what other drivers have, and that's why the contact was so aggressive coming to the inside wall. You see it on the replay here.
Yeah, look at that right front completely crunched up. I'll have to see if that was either to his spin to the inside wall or he may have clobbered the outside wall prior to spinning down towards the inside of the racetrack.
Most of that is from him hitting the wall before hitting the outside wall. So a lot of heavy contact there.
Weatherby was running at the time, I believe, in the 10th position. And he was trying to run down Joseph Causey for 9th. And oh, wow. That is a violent shot there for the DuPont Chevrolet Lumina. And that says to me fast repair, but I mean, this has to be one of the toughest racetracks for that because, we go back to last week at Atlanta, some drivers had slight cosmetic damage, so they were able to hold out, use their fast repair on that final restart we had with less than 10 to go. Here today, I think, is going to be a much tougher choice of when you come to pit road and use that fast repair.
Yeah, these drivers only have one fast repair, and with that fast repair, it will fix all your cosmetic and engine damage once during the race. It will fix it instantly. You'll get new tires, you'll get packed full of fuel, and you'll get back out there. But with it being used only once, after you use it that one time, all damage that you need to repair, you have to be in pit road, wait for your damage to be repaired in the pit stall, and it could take a long time for those repairs to get done. And usually we're used to seeing drivers either utilize it early because of engine damage or any other damage that's been utilized. Some save it until the last quarter of the race. But now I'm expecting a lot of drivers probably to try to save their fast repair until the middle point of the race. But it's hard to tell just because of how much heavy contact a lot of these drivers have already taken.
Christopher Morse going to win the battle off pit road. Gerald Campbell going to come off second. Jeff Green and Brandon Brown in a little bit of a drag race for the third spot as we had two drivers stay out. Dallas Myhand was one of them. He's going to bring his car to pit road this time. Robert Hedges also stayed out in the 8 machine. Now, it varies by track. Sometimes we have free pass machines and sometimes we don't. I don't think we're having any wave arounds the entirety of this season, so we'll have to wait and see if there is a free pass car. If there is, it was the 75 of Hank Steinmiller who was in line to be the free pass machine.
Yeah, the free pass will be utilized. Tyler Riggs, one of our cars up front, will be using a fast repair. Other drivers that I believe are using a fast repair is going to be the 46 of Kazi. He'll be using his fast repair.
24, who we saw bring out the caution. You can obviously see he has used a fast repair.
That,
This is only coming to lap 30. There's still over 150 laps to go in this race, and these drivers that have taken a faster pair at this point, they've kind of made their bed for the remainder of this event.
they really have, and it's going to be tough for some of them. Looks like Brandon Brown did not use one. He's got one of the cleaner cars out there, rocking in that 12 machine.
And he will be restarting from the 4th position here, behind Green, Campbell, and race leader Christopher Morse. Mention the fact that Christopher Morse comes into this race the highest in the point standings without a trip to victory lane. He is 4th in the overall standings. Average start of 4th place, average finish of 5th place. And right now, trying to see if he can join the likes of Ashton Schleiss, Jake Hounshaw, and Blaine Atkin as a race winner this season.
And man, Darlington has already chewed up so many vehicles from this, and we're going to try our best to keep records to see who still has a faster pair out there, but it's going to be tough to watch out for. But honestly, all these drivers have a handful with how loose these machines are and how slick the track is. But here's one positive. With these cars right now, the track temp has dropped down. It started out with 127 degrees track temp. When we hit the green, it actually went up a degree while we were racing. Once the caution came out, the track decided to cool off a little bit. It's now down to 124 degrees.
I think the most telling sign that kind of set the stage for what to expect in this race was the very beginning of this race, lap 1, turn 1, where these drivers, seemed like a lot of them drove into turn 1 with a lot of confidence, and we saw a lot of them slide up and into that outside wall. Kind of was a little bit, I think, of a reality check for these drivers of, nope, this isn't going to be a walk in the park here. This is going to be a 187 nail biter.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be tough for all of them out here, and we're we use most of the 87 rules, so there will be a single file restart here. Pace car laps are out of here, so
we're about 24 would have, under normal conditions, gotten a wave around, but since it's 87 rules, we are not doing the wave around rule, so Weatherby will have to drop to the tail end of the field as he is a lap down machine.
Also, Weatherby was given an EOL for being they gave him an EOL because he was the cause of that caution.
Looks like the 75 of Steinmiller did not get the free pass, so I'm not sure if they are or not doing lucky dogs here tonight. Those two, Weatherby and Steinmiller, 1 lap down. Todd Eldridge is 2 laps down. And even though he had an engine issue, Randy Koking is actually back out there 4 laps down, still running in the 16th position. The only driver out of the race up to this point is the 9 of Bo Brady, who came into this race 8th in the point standings.
Well, pace car is going to pull down low, and our leaders get a little bit of a longer wait time before they can get the green to finally drive by. But on the front stretch, here comes Christopher Morris Jr. bringing us to the green, and here comes Campbell. Maybe thinking about poking on the inside.
Took about 27, 28 laps before we finally saw our first caution of the day. Let's see if we can go into a long green flag run again, as the battle is going to be for 4th. Blaine Atkin to the inside of Brandon Brown easily takes the position off of 2.
A lot of these cars up front are going to have a little bit of damage they have to work with. Cars that don't have damage at the moment because they used the faster pair is going to be the 46, and I believe the 83 also used one. So drivers up front going to be trying to do the best they can, and Atkin looked like he got off the corner a little bit off.
Yeah, he was trying to get around Jeff Green, who had lost some momentum. They stacked up the entire rest of the field behind them. Joseph Causey, Brandon Brown, Jake Heinschel now up in this group, and this is when you start to get a little nervous because just the slightest error could cause quite a big wreck with cars all in a pack like this.
And while we're watching all this action back here, our leaders actually switched. Gerald Campbell, the 31 machine, has gotten by Christopher Morse Jr. for the lead.
Campbell,
no!
Saves it, looked like off of 4. Close call for the 46, as he's going to drop from 5th back to 9th place now.
Yeah, right there. Causey he got a little loose off the corner. Houndshell didn't notice and ran it right in the back quarter panel of this 46. Got him spinning around, but able to save it. Great save by the 46.
Gerald Campbell did get the lead, as you mentioned, from Christopher Morse. However, Morse is not letting him go. It's only 2/10 separation. And we've actually got about to have it be a 4-car fight as Jeff Green and Blaine Atkins starting to reel in these top 2 as well.
The harder they drive, the more it's going to allow these drivers that are just running single filed up for them just to slowly start catching our leaders. And, our third and fourth drivers, really, they just need to lay back, follow suit, and let your front runners just waste their tires and really just start to lose time. That's the best way to gain up onto them. Don't try to battle one another just yet. Wait until later on in the run.
Jeff Green, we saw him get up into the wall lap ago in turns 1 and 2, but he has now gotten the draft off the back of the 3 of Christopher Morse. Blaine Atkin right there in his tire tracks as well. Then you got to go about nearly 7/8 of a second before you get back to Brandon Brown trying to hold off your pole sitter Jake Hounshell.
Also, if you go back to 9th place, Kazi getting pressured by Tyler Riggs, who has a fresh machine in that 26 machine after hitting the wall hard on lap 1, corner number 1. 26 machine's going to try to figure out how to get himself into a rhythm and try to click away these laps as well as these positions.
Yeah, but if you're someone like Tyler Riggs or maybe that 24 of Weatherby, drivers that we know have used their faster pair already, do you maybe kind of just hang back, find a safe spot, and ride it out, try and keep yourself on the lead lap until you get towards the end of this race? Because you don't want to tear up your faster pair car.
Yeah, I mean, right now, Weatherby is in a pretty precarious situation because he is a lap down, and he's not even the first car lap down. That is going to be the 75 machine of Steinmiller, who right now is running around the drivers that are in the top 10. So 75 machine's doing great, but there's 2-car difference between Nicholas Weatherby and that 75 machine.
Battle for 7th here. That's John Whitendorf, the 33, Dallas Myhand in the 41. Trying to look to see if Myhand... The car looks a little cleaner than it did when he came to pit road, but I can't tell if he's used a fast repair or not.
I believe he has used a fast repair on that 41 machine, just because, yeah, it is a lot cleaner than what it was before.
He was pretty crunched up on the front. A lot of damage on the right side as this battle for the lead will not go away. Gerald Campbell out in front. Christopher Morse, who started this race from the outside of the front row, swung around pole sitter Jake Hounshell and led the first 25 or so laps of this event. Now he is the hunter and Gerald Campbell is the hunted, and boy, they are awfully close in the middle of 1 and 2.
I mean, right now, Morris is just trying to figure out when and where the best opportunity to make this pass is, and you'd like to say that you could just throw it into any corner you want, but you really can't. If you make one bad move, if you bump the 31 machine, you could ruin the 31 machine's day, and also he could come swinging back and ruin your day if you accidentally spin him around.
We talked about the fact that 1 and 2 are so much different than 3 and 4. Maybe pulling a little Dill Senior intimidator factor here, trying to keep Gerald Campbell's eyes more in the rearview mirror than out the windshield, but able to make an easy and very clean pass around Gerald Campbell for the lead through 1 and 2. Christopher Morse back to the lead.
Yeah, that was kind of like a dirt track type pass. We just came up and did a little bit of a slide job in front of our leader, and that's going to put the 3 machine back up in the point and trying to lead as many laps, possibly get the most laps led bonus point, if possible, here for that 3 machine.
Yeah, so far in this race of drivers that have made legitimate passes, not based off of a driver ahead of them making a mistake or losing momentum, that's been the only way to pass here, is to kind of pull that slide job, especially down in 1 and 2. I don't think you'll really necessarily see drivers do it over in 3 and 4, with the fact it's a little bit more of a concave angled turn. 1 and 2 is more of a wider sweeping corner, so you're able to have a little bit more room to try and make that kind of a slide job move.
Looking at some of our biggest movers so far today, that's going to be Jeff Green, and the 10 machine has gone up a total of 11 positions since the start of the green. Started back in 15th, now up to 4th, and the battle for the lead continues on as it looks like
That was my hand, and I thought he was going to clobber the inside wall. I don't know how he got that car turned back to the right in time.
I honestly don't know how he did it either. He honestly thought, with how hard he hit that outside wall, it came drifting around. I thought for sure that inside wall was about to have another friend of crunching up more machines.
He'll drop back to the 11th position, Will Myhan, but fortunately that car still intact for the time being, as he almost got up and brushed the wall yet again. Now sets his sights on Seth Harlson to get back up into the top 10 position.
And our leaders are starting to catch up to lap traffic once again. The first car they're going to be up to, it's going to be Todd Eldridge. He's just going to drop it to the inside and let our leaders go on by.
Todd Eldridge, U.S. Olympic gold medalist, is going to now fall 3 laps down to the race leaders, currently in the 15th position. And what was a 2-car battle is now looking like it may turn into a 3-car battle. You've got Christopher Morris leading the way. Gerald Campbell only making his second start of the season in the 2nd position, and 2-time winner, winning the first 2 races of the season. Blaine Akin up here trying to go 3 for 5.
You talked about him being one of the fastest cars out there on track before we had the yellow, and he has now got fresh tires, and right on the back bumper of Gerald Campbell is going to be Blaine Akin in that 05 machine. I mean, it's almost all black, so you really can't tell in the car. But man, that machine is quick, and it really can make any type of pass. It looks like a car on the inside might have had an issue in the back.
Yeah, there's black smoke there on the inside line.
That was the 11 machine of Randy Kokian, who absolutely destroyed the inside wall, blew up his engine. He had to then tow his car into the infield, and I believe he already used a fast repair, so that looks like a day done for the 11 machine.
That's the second incident that 11 car has had off that corner, and maybe a mirror image wreck, as we saw smoke lingering in the same area on the back straightaway before when he had his issue. And you see Robert Hedges there down the apron letting lead lap machines around, as we've got a pretty good battle here for the 5th position. That's Brandon Brown and Jake Houndshell.
Yeah, Houndshell, our pole sitter, trying to figure out how to get back up front, but I think right now he's got that. Houndshell's got the great qualifying pace. It's more of that race pace and keeping the consistency up for that 83 machine, and why he's back here in 6th and not in the top 2.
You mentioned consistency with the way they're running the 1987 rules. It's not, there's no chase system. There's no playoff system. It's no winning you're in to battle for the championship. It's all about consistency. Whoever accumulates the most points at the end of the season is going to be your champion.
16 races these guys have for this season, and we're only into race number 5 here tonight. And that's crazy to think that we're getting so close to the midway point for these drivers, and now's the time. You have to start running well. It's not like, oh, in the last 4 races I'll finally start getting consistent. It's more of you have to start right now.
If you think about it, too, just about in every single season, when you end up getting good finishes, we'll get to that point in a moment. It was Dallas Myhan.
And that 41 machine, same exact spot. We've seen so many wrecks happen. Off a 2, hitting the wall and dumping it into the inside wall.
And this time he was unable to save it like we saw him do about 5-6 laps ago. And Myhan, as you said, and I agree with you, I think was one of the drivers that had already used up his fast repair under the last caution. So what he's got there, depending on what his crew can do to beat out that sheet metal, that's what he's got for these final 137 laps.
I'm going in to check to see if he did use a fast repair or not. And the 41 machine, looks like he did not use a fast repair on that last restart. So he still has it there. 41 machine is not done just yet.
Here it was coming off of turn 2, and we've seen this all day long where I don't know if it's a matter of getting back to the throttle too soon off the corner that's causing the cars to go up and hit that outside wall. Obviously, we know it's the lack of grip, but it seems like there's some other mitigating factor there that's causing these cars to hit the wall at such a broadside angle that it shoots them down to that inside wall.
So the wall sticks out just a little bit, and it's sticking out so much more than what drivers are used to. So they do get onto the gas a little bit quicker than what they're used to, and just because they're trying to keep up with everyone else on track, it costs them greatly sometimes, and it really hurts a lot of these drivers out here that were hoping to have a better day than what they're having right now. And yeah, you hate to see that type of a damage, but turn 2, it's just been that corner. We're used to saying that at road courses, that there's a certain corner that just tears up cars. But here at Darlington, exit of turn 2 has been the danger zone for everyone.
We went about 26 laps the first green flag run. This green flag run, we went about 22 laps. We know that the setup and the way we've seen these drivers slipping and sliding around is loose, but when we go into those longer runs, obviously, as at most speedways, the pressure goes onto that right front tire. The tire heat's going to build up more in that tire, particularly, which then causes drivers to build up a tight sensation off the corner. And I have to wonder if that plays into it as well, with maybe that right front heating up so much the car just will not turn when you get off of turns 2 or 4.
Yeah, most likely that is the reason why we're seeing a lot of these cars slipping and sliding. And just an update on the track temp, because that is going to be a factor to watch out for. It is still 124 degrees out there, so cooler than it was when we started the race. But these drivers, the track is always going to be slipping and sliding when you're just over 90 degrees on track temp. And these guys are about almost 30 degrees or more hotter track temp than what it usually is at these courses.
We're waiting for the pace car to give us the 1 degree signal. And I was just going to bring up the point earlier before that caution came out. We were talking about making moves early on in the season, not waiting until the very end of the year to try and make a charge for the championship. We've seen, it doesn't matter what kind of point system a series uses. If you can get those good finishes early on in the season, you reap better rewards than you do later on, because the consistent finishes earlier on the season are going to gain you anywhere from 4, 5. We've seen sometimes 8, 9, 10 spots gained in the point standings. You run well near the end of the season, you may gain 1 or 2 positions each week. And if you find yourself, let's say, back 7th, 8th in the point standings with 4 races remaining, that's not going to cut it for you to be able to mathematically be in the championship hunt by the time you get to the season finale.
No, it's really not going to be enough. And, it's, the longer the run goes on, I think at our halfway marker, we might get to know who really are the cars to watch out for the championship. But, I mean, there's so many machines out here that are so quick week after week that you've always got your eyes on it. I mean, our leader right now, Christopher Morse Jr., he is someone that is going to be extremely quick all season long. And then also Blaine Atkins with his 2 wins. That 0-5 machine is always going to be quick. Houndshell in 5th place. He's someone who's been running consistent, has been here every single week. So you got drivers that have been here every single week, and that's the difference. Is some drivers were here at the start, and other drivers are starting to trickle in as people are seeing how much this league is growing.
Dallas Myhan just now leaving his pit stall. I think he might be able to beat the pace car to the pit road exit and remain on the lead lap. Look to see the length of amount of time on his stay. He was in his pit stall for a little under 50 seconds, which says to me that he's still holding on to that fast repair. They got as much damage repaired as they possibly could, and he will go out there and try and continue to limp his way around until he absolutely wants to use that fast repair. And that's a driver that comes into this race running really well in the point standings. He's only 50 points out of the points lead, 3rd in the overall standings, but struggling here today at Darlington.
Yeah, Dallas Myhan's done this at a couple of tracks where he'll save his fast repair until the quarter of the way left in this race, and then he'll finally decide to use it. But right now, doing a great job, just staying out there, trying to do the best he can. Yeah, and this 41 machine, it's going to be a long day, but I think a lot of these drivers, it's going to be a long day for them, just trying to save their tires as well as just save their machines for the later half of this race.
I think it's already been a long day for them, and we still have 133 laps to go as Christopher Morse is going to lead them down to the green flag. Gerald Campbell 2nd. Blaine Atkins, the highest he has been all day since having his little issue on the very first lap of this race. He's going to be there in 3rd and jumps to the outside of Campbell for 2nd.
Campbell was trying to defend the inside away from Atkins because Atkins been doing that all season long, trying to gain as many positions off the start, as that's Brown who almost loses it off the corner. Everyone else following suit.
Blaine Atkins, probably to your point this season, has been the most aggressive driver on restarts, able to pick up 1, 2, sometimes 3 or 4 positions on the first lap of a restart, able to have really good short run speed.
And it's going to be the 12 of Brown that gets into the wall exit off of 4, and yeah, there's a cluster of machines behind them. They're trying to figure out where they're going to place their cars because they're trying to go forward, but there's just not a lot of space now when you're running side by side. It's 33 and 46 right now, battling for 7th.
Nearly contact between Causey and Whitendorf there off of turn 2. As those two continue to battle for the 7th position, Tyler Riggs there as well. Woo! Lap machine of Nicholas Weatherby almost got him in the left rear quarter panel as you're looking at the 33, 46, and 26. That is 7th through 9th at the moment.
Yeah, Weatherby right now in that 24 machine, he's going to be running 13th at the moment, 1 lap down. First car, 1 lap down. And it looks like Campbell and Atkins battling for 2nd, side by side. Houndshell right there.
Pole sitter looking on at this battle for the runner-up spot as Atkin up and into the wall, brushes it just a little bit. Enough momentum lost. That's going to drift him from 2nd back to 4th. Now he crosses the inside, looks to get 3rd place back, heading into turn 3.
He kind of hit the wall at a nice place where he pancaked it to where he could keep on going. And yes, he scrubbed off a little bit of time, but he actually got a better exit than what some of the other drivers are. That's why he was able to pass Houndshell there on the front stretch.
Jeff Green on the back bumper of Brandon Brown. Further back, you've got Tyler Riggs. He's taking a peek on Joseph Causey. Whoa, you saw that car get loose going into the corner as he's trying to steal away the 8th position. Oh, Causey got loose off that corner. I thought he was going to go off the nose of Riggs.
And that's the one thing you got to be nervous about is a car in front of you getting loose off the corner or yourself getting loose and accidentally collecting the car in front of you as more action up front as Atkin. That damage has actually allowed Houndshell to lose time, and now there comes Brown and Green, and Houndshell now dipping it down low under Green.
Dipping it way down low is John Whitendorf back there, slideways going into 3. It's side by side now for the 5th position between Green and the 10, Houndshell in the 83. Houndshell has to lift off the corner, so Green will hold the spot for the moment.
And right now, everyone's, they're trying to gain as much time as they can on the drivers around them because they know if we go on a long green flag run, everyone's going to start to split up from one another, and a lot of mistakes are going to be made here with pressure all around. And right now, for our leader, pulling away and feeling comfortable is going to be the 3 machine of Christopher Morris.
So we dropped back there for a moment, looking at the tail end of the lead lap cars. Tyler Riggs back in 9th, Seth Harrelson in his first start 10th. Dallas Myhan currently in the 11th position. The good news is he's still on the lead lap. He's running about 6 to 7 tenths a lap slower than race leader Christopher Morris Jr. But right now, I think the goal for that 41 is at least to just stay on the lead lap so that way he can use that fast repair later on and be able to get back up, be competitive in the closing stages of this race.
Yeah, right now he's running about 3 tenths off some of the cars that are the slowest right now around him. So Dallas Myhan, yes, his car is not the way that he wants it, but just keep chugging along. You'll get there one of these days. As it's going to be the 07 getting by Tyler Riggs for 9th at the moment.
And we saw Brandon
in the
Brown.
wall.
Brandon Brown was into the wall. Causey's into the wall. So both Whitendorf and the lap machine of Weatherby make evasive moves. And further up, when Brown got into the wall, Jeff Green thought about making a dive bomb into turn 3. Thought better of it, though, as he will continue now to try and reel in that 12 machine. Up at the front right now, they've gotten themselves pretty well spaced out. Christopher Morris by about maybe half a second over Gerald Campbell, then another half second back to Blaine Atkin.
Right now, I'm actually... Blaine Atkin still hasn't used the fast repair. He's clobbered that outside wall a couple of times here, and he's got one of the fastest cars out here in that 05, and once he uses the fast repair, he's going to be the fastest machine out there on track. Surprised to see Atkin was one of the first drivers that did not qualify and started in 9th place. So the driver that possibly could have started up a lot higher up and maybe could have been challenging for the lead sooner in the race is now just waiting in 3rd until it's time to use that fast repair.
Usually when we go into a long green flag run, things get pretty spread out towards the front of the field, but we usually find a space in the middle part of the pack that we call the proverbial hornet's nest, and we just nearly had the Wasps fly there with contact between Riggs and Harrelson. But this right here would be the area that we would be looking at that would be called the hornet's nest. This is where they're all backed up from about 7th back to the 11th position.
Oh no, there goes Seth in the wall.
Almost again Riggs into Harrelson, and both were able to save it once more.
And, they're still all wadded up right here. And Mayan now, he's probably thinking, I don't want to get too close to these guys if they start to be racing like that, because I want to still keep my car at least in running condition to where I don't have to use a fast repair this early on, as we're not even at the halfway marker.
Well, Riggs is finally going to open up some distance between himself and that 07 Clemson machine of Seth Harrelson. Up further, this is a battle not for position, but for track position, if you will. Joseph Causey getting around the lap machine of Nicholas Weatherby, and now about to catch up to the slower lap machine of Todd Eldridge.
Todd's going to let them by in that Stars and Stripes 96 machine. Jeff Green, though, who was running around fourth, fifth place, actually got off the corner a little loose a couple of laps ago, has now lost 2 positions, back to 6th place.
And up further towards the front, we had an exchange for second. Blaine Atkin got around Gerald Campbell. So now the 2-time winner sets his sights on race leader Christopher Morse. About 0.5 of a second separating those two. That last time by, Morse was about a 10th quicker, but as stated, Atkin at the time was trying to get around the 31, so we'll compare lap times now that both drivers are out in clean air.
And they're still running around, but right now, credit goes to the 3 machine, who's the fastest car on track at the moment. As they cross the line here, though, it's going to be pretty much dead even between our top 3. But the fastest car out there, out of those 3, that last lap was the 31 of Gerald Campbell.
And now it's going to come down, I think, to 2 things if we do not see another caution for a while. Number 1, how well do you save your tires for the entirety of this long run? Number 2, how much damage do you sustain on your race car along the way? And we've yet to see a round of green flag pit stops here, Sam, but I would assume with us going back green when we did, which was back, I believe, on lap, I think it was 53 or 54. I mean, I would assume with 133, 134 laps to go, these drivers are still going to have to be on pit road at some point. Question is, when is that?
Yeah, these drivers fuel-wise can go for about 70 laps or so, but just because of how much damage as well as tire wear for these drivers, I would imagine they can only go for about 50 laps or so. So that's just asking if they can go that far. They might even have to pit even sooner than 50 laps because of how much wear and tear these tires take. As our leaders right now coming up to a group of 2 cars that will become our lap machines, which that is the 8 machine as well as the 11.
Another thing that's going to be interesting here, too, that we had happen last week at Atlanta was the question of when do you decide to use your fast repair, just based on if you might get a caution to be able to do that fast repair. Because last week we were almost thinking that guys that hadn't taken their fast repair weren't going to get a chance to use it. We thought maybe we were going to go green to the checkered flag, but we did have the late race
Oh no!
yellow.
Second and third, hard contact. That's going to be Gerald Campbell and Blaine Atkins coming off of 2. Gerald Campbell got the worst of it on the inside wall. He's dropped back to 6th place.
And that car now off the pace, he might be running slow to see if a caution might come out. But right now, race official does not have a flag in his hand, and Campbell going to come back out on the track into the 10th position.
That was such a hard contact. Gerald Campbell is going to have to pull into the pits to make that repair. And also, here's caution. Saving the 31 machine, and also Atkin, who's been dropping back so much.
I think it might have been Blaine Atkin that brought the caution out, actually, because that car was very slow through 1 and 2.
Atkin and Jeff Green made contact, and Atkins came to a dead stop because how much he was put into the wall. So I'm imagining Atkins probably is going to have to do a Dallas Myhan here, as well as Campbell might have to do one as well. But we got to look at the 31 machine and see how much damage he has under that hood, if these drivers are going to have to use fast repair or not here.
We're going to go back and first take a look at the contact between Campbell and Atkin for that, at the time, second position that did not bring out a caution. And then we'll look at what happened afterwards with Blaine Atkin to bring the yellow out. And, oh, wow, it just looked like Blaine Atkin got the wall and it slowed that car up so much. Gerald Campbell, who was right on his bumper, had no time to react.
Yeah, he really had no time at all. And all our leaders are now coming into the pits, and something went horribly wrong for the 26 of Tyler Riggs.
There you see the contact with Jeff Green and Blaine Akin, as Akin was obviously somewhat off the pace with his damage, and we'll now go back and see if we can find out what happened with that 26 car.
He was entering the pits and just came in with too much speed, and he locked his brakes trying to slow down, and his car never turned and went straight into the water.
So that is a tough break there for a driver that has been struggling here today already, ever since the very first lap of this race.
And we actually have Tyler Riggs in the booth. Tyler, we just saw the replay of what happened. I saw that you locked up your brakes. What happened on your end?
That pit wall really narrows quickly, fellas. That thing jumped out so quick, and that's why you saw me lock it up. So tough, yeah, tough. Like you said, Seth, struggling since the start of this one. Tried to give Gerald room on the first lap and slapped the wall myself, and didn't work out for the rest of the way there. So
I mean, Tyler, we've been seeing you guys slipping and sliding around out there. It's almost looking like you're almost afraid to pass unless someone up ahead of you has a lots of momentum. Just to give our viewers an idea of what the conditions really are like when you're out there behind the wheel.
yeah, it's pretty rough. Like you mentioned, trying to pass. I mean, I was stuck behind John there and Seth there for a minute, just because, even though I felt like I was faster, it's just really not a great place to pass. Having to get into the corner, you really got to catch somebody on the straight, and then hope you can stick it. Preferably in turn 3 and 4, 1 and 2. It's nearly impossible to try to get it properly, and so yeah, that caused me. I mean, I was just sitting at trying to make space, but yeah, it's tough. It is so tough out there. It's a little less slick than you would think in terms of the track. It's just these things are tough to wrangle.
Well, that's Tyler Riggs in the 26 machine. Hopefully you can get that car repaired and get back out there, but I know that was a really hard last hit that you just had.
Yeah, I had to come talk to you guys about it because that was an all-timer there by me, so I had to do it. All right, y'all have a good one.
So Tyler continues to get repairs done to his 26 car. He's currently scored 2 laps down in the 14th position. He's currently ahead of drivers Todd Eldridge and Randy Koking, who have also had their issues here this evening. And after all that, we've got a new race leader. Brandon Brown in the 12 car is now out in front over the pole sitter Jake Hounshell. Jeff Green, who was involved in the caution after his contact with Blaine Akin, lines up third, and Christopher Morris now falls all the way back to 4th place on this restart.
Big implications for these drivers. We are not even at the halfway marker, and drivers have already utilized their fast repairs. Jeff Green, he's going to throw out and use a fast repair. I believe the 3 machine also just used one. Blaine Atkins, Gerald Campbell, a lot of machines deciding now is the time to utilize that fast repair. Still, Dallas Mahan has not used his, but a lot of these machines back here are kind of saving their fast repair until later on in the race. And Tyler Riggs able to get that car out there, but based on how much damage is on that 26 machine, I'd imagine that engine is probably going to blow up here very soon.
Well, we were talking just before that caution came out about last week at Atlanta. A lot of drivers we thought weren't going to get to use their fast repair because of the appearance that we were going to go green to the end. And we've had 3 pretty good long green flag runs here between our 3 cautions. So my assumption is a lot of these guys that have now used their fast repair are thinking maybe, just maybe, we might be going green to the checkered flag. Take your fast repair now rather than be stuck and not having a caution come out and being able to take your fast repair later on in the race.
Well, some of them had just had so much damage that they had to take a fast repair if they wanted to stay on the lead lap at least. So that's why we had about 6 drivers of our top 10 use their fast repairs this early on in this race. And I think looking at drivers that still have one, I think our leader right now, Brown, still has one. I believe Houndshell has already utilized his fast repair. I think Brown as well as Mayan might be some of the only drivers that still have a fast repair. I think also the 07, the 75 also might still have fast repairs for their disposal.
So this is going to be a very interesting second half of the race as we're closing in on that point in the next 20 laps or so. As Brandon Brown going to get us back underway, lap 78 complete, on to lap 79.
Brown has been running around top 5 and sometimes up in 3rd place. Finally gets to be up front, leading a couple of laps here, and he's got a lot of hungry drivers with fresh machines ready to move forward. But all the side-by-side action is back there with the 24 machine, the 46. They finally get straightened out, and everyone else up front as well, all in single filed up.
But back to the question that I asked before when we saw some of the drivers under the last caution use their fast repair. How aggressive do guys like Jeff Green, Christopher Morris, Blaine Atkin, how aggressive do they want to be? Because now they've got what they've got. If they tear it up anymore, that's going to be extended time on pit road having to repair those cars.
Yeah, right now it's mainly survival mode. Try to just make it so you can make it to the end and then push hard with a final about 20 to 25 laps. But right now, Houndshell says that he wants to lead. Green, actually, that last lap was running pretty aggressive in that 10 machine after using that fast repair. So I was kind of shocked to see how aggressive Green has been. But he wants to be up front and racing hard.
Houndshell had to run the inside line there with Brandon Brown battling for the lead, lost him some momentum. Green was able to draft up to him with a big run and now moves into the second position. Houndshell trying to go coast to coast here tonight at Darlington after starting this race from the pole. And now it's going to be Christopher Morris and Blaine Atkins side by side for the 4th position going through 3 and 4.
Atkins getting up into 4th place, and he slows down just a little bit. Contact made between Morris and Atkin.
And Campbell makes an evasive move there to the inside. I think might have had his rear tire slide on him as well, as we nearly had ourselves
Green blinked. Green blinked, and when he came back in, Houndshell spun him around. Jeff Green going to be off pace and back into 10th place.
And he's in a position here where he's going to have to back that car around, which is going to lose him time, and looks like he's going to actually have to teleport it to pit road. And I've seen quite a number of drivers do that, not only here tonight, but in other races this season. It's almost like they aren't able to reverse the car or something.
Yeah, the car just doesn't want to move sometimes, and you're better off teleporting and car around, and so your tires will be slightly cooler. But the only problem is you're going to be going at least 1, maybe 2 or 3 laps down just because of how long the tow can be getting to the pit road.
Sure, and it's going to be now a battle for second. Blaine Atkin going to get around Jake Houndshell. And now Christopher Morris tries to do the same. And I'm not certain if you know this or not, Sam, but I'm going to ask you the question just based off of the tow and the explanations. We're going to go 3 wide.
No, Gerald Campbell thought otherwise. That's a smart decision by the 31.
Yikes. Well, it made our heart rate go up anyway. But, I know over on the Enter 1003 sim, when you call for a tow, what it does, based on where you tow from, it will time as if you were pacing from that point.
Campbell into Houndshell.
Oh, we'll get to that point.
No! Dallas Mayan. Heavy contact into Houndshell's rear end.
Caution will fly for the 4th time here today. And one thing that we know about Darlington is it's very congested in terms of room to avoid wrecks. Sometimes when you're committed to a line, you have to run that line all the way through the corner. And unfortunately for Dallas Mayan, Houndshell was in the lane that he wanted.
Once you pick your line here at Darlington, it's so difficult to slow down and even try to move to the high side or even below into the apron. And with that contact, the 41 machine who wanted to save that fast repair for later on has to utilize it now. Houndshell, I believe he's already used a fast repair earlier on in the race, back around lap 20 or 40 around there. So I believe that machine does not have another fast repair to be utilized here. And just under, once we went to caution, Jeff Green is disconnected from the server, parking his car for the day.
Close call there for a couple of other drivers. Joseph Causey was near hitting the 83 machine, and I believe it was the 75 of Hank Steinmiller who almost got a piece of the incident as well. Fortunately, the contact between Myhand and Houndshell shot the 83 down closer to the apron rather than back up the track. And as you saw on the replay, that was a three-way battle for the second position. It was contact between Houndshell and Gerald Campbell, who were side by side for the third position.
Looking at Dallas Myhand, once again, not utilizing that fast repair, going to continue staying with the car that he has and just trying to repair it manually until he has to make that repair later on. And Houndshell does not have a repair, so he will be trying to make those repairs under pit road conditions.
And off pit road, oh, it was close, but I think it might have been Blaine Atkin, at least just from the visual I had. However, it's like the 3 car is being scored the race leader, so I'm not sure where the commitment line is there for pit road exit, but wherever it is, apparently having the second pit stall allowed Christopher Morse to hold on to the race lead in a bit of a photo finish there.
Atkin was kind of speeding down pit road and had to come to a complete stop, which Brandon Brown had to run into the 05, and that's the second time someone has run into Atkin because he's kind of been tapping that brake just a little bit or having some type of issue where he slows down in front of someone.
Nearing the halfway point of this race, and just before that happened, I just want to just quickly finish up the point we were making for the viewing audience on what the tow is. On the NR 2003 sim, as I said, when you tow, it scores from where you towed from at pacing speed from there to your pit stall. I'm not sure if the iRacing sim does the same thing or not.
It does do the same thing. So if you're closer to the pit box, if you're closer to pit entry, then your time will be a lot slower. And if you had just passed pit entry, that is going to be the longest way around time-wise. So some of these drivers just feel like it's better to take a tow than it is to drive around and waste their tires in a way.
So when we go back green, it will be Christopher Morse out in front, Blaine Atkins second, Brandon Brown third, John Whitendorf in fourth, and Gerald Campbell will be fifth. As we're closing in the halfway point, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break. We'll be side by side and back for the green here in just a moment from Darlington as we go FRN side by side. And we welcome you back here this evening to Darlington Raceway as we are running the 5th race of the season here. for the G4 Sim Racing Hijinx Company Vintage Cup Series. Right now, Christopher Morse is your race leader over Blaine Atkin. Brandon Brown, John Whitendorf, and Seth Harlson are now your top 5, as Gerald Campbell was sent EOL for bringing out the last caution. Green flag in the air, 97 laps to go.
And it's going to be Christopher Morris with a great restart, but the man who always tries to gain at least one position into turn number 1, Atkin, right behind the 3 machine, decides otherwise. I think that's the most conservative we've ever seen Blaine Atkins be, as caution in the back.
Dallas Myhand in the 41 again. This time in turns 1 and 2, more so in the first corner.
Oh. He was looked like the 75 machine came into the corner just with too much speed. Had to slam on his brakes so he didn't get into Campbell, which made Dallas Myhand be the victim of this contact.
75 of Hank Steinmiller, who just got the free pass. And yeah, you're right. It looks like the 75 checked up for the 96 of Todd Eldridge, who got up into the wall ahead of him. Myhand was not ready for that. And then quick evasive maneuver there by Tyler Riggs, going all the way down to the apron to avoid hitting the 41 machine, who was sitting in the middle of the track over there in turn 1.
Yeah, it's just one of those things of, again, for Dallas Myhand, wrong place, wrong time for the 41 machine for 2 cautions in a row. Still, I don't know how that 41 machine has not blown up his engine yet. He has had some of the most damaged car all race long, has just been repairing it over and over again, and that front end is still there, still letting him run that machine, and he hasn't used a fast repair just yet.
Saw right there, Tyler Riggs was trying to catch up to the rest of the field after he had been back on pit road getting more damage repaired, and came flying into turn 1, sees that 41 facing the wrong direction, and very close call there for Tyler Riggs going into turns 1 and 2, as he was just able to get to the inside and avoid.
And last time we talked to Tyler Riggs in the booth, he was a couple of laps down with engine damage because he accidentally ran into the pit entry wall. And now that 26 machine, one of the cars that could be getting with 2 cautions here, get those lucky dogs. He'll be back under green. He'll be back under lead lap, I should say, and battling out here for positions, as he's the only car that's 2 laps down, and the first car a lap down.
Yeah, we mentioned that Hank Steinmiller got the free pass on the last caution. Nicholas Weatherby now back on the lead lap in the 24 car with this caution. So, as you said, still a chance here for Tyler Riggs to get back in the lead lap. He is 2 laps down. Todd Eldridge right now 6 laps down. And Randy Koking, who has had 2 hard licks off of turn 2. A lot of engine problems here tonight. He's 22 laps down. So, not meaning anything against the 11 machine, but we're kind of hoping that we don't have that many cautions that he gets back on the lead lap here, as we are now at the halfway point of this race, working our 5th caution of the evening.
It's been a lot of cautions, but we've also seen a lot of green flag runs, and that's what's been nice to watch, is the fact that, yes, we've had a couple of these quick cautions, but we've also had a couple of long green flag runs that we've almost had green flag pit stops for these drivers. And with us getting closer to, I think we are actually at the halfway marker, just past the halfway marker for these drivers, it's looking a lot more intriguing to see, as fuel-wise, they still can't make it to the end here on one more pit. They still need at least one more pit stop fuel-wise to make it to the end. And just based off them pitting for some of these drivers a couple of laps ago and others on this caution, I think if we go green for the rest of the way, one more pit stop until they can make it to the end.
And just to update what you were talking about earlier, drivers that look like they have not yet used their fast repairs. 2nd place, Brandon Brown. 4th place, Seth Harlson. And then maybe the only other driver is that 41 back there of Dallas Myhand, who is back on pit lane trying to get some more repairs done to his 41 machine after bringing out this 5th caution of the night. We got some more stuff coming up here this weekend as well. Let's take a little look ahead here for Flatout Racing Network. Tomorrow night, Over on speed51.com, Flatout Racing Network will be broadcasting its last Elite Racing League broadcast as Tyler Riggs, who's in tonight's race, along with Michael Norman, will be presenting the season finale for the 2020 Join APS.com Cup Series, a champion to be crowned over there. Thursday night, Sam, you and I have the call for Fuel IndyCar Series, the Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series, as they've been having some very exciting finishes in their first two starts of the season, and will be back-to-backing with the broadcasting on the NR side as the fourth playoff race, setting up the final four for the RTG Talladega Challenge, will be running that night as well.
Yeah, it's always fun to go check out those NR races. They're so different from what you're used to seeing here on iRacing. And, you know, those drivers over there, they've been racing on NR for so long. They are so good at what they do. But also, I'm loving to be back in and broadcasting Fuel again and watching those IndyCar guys racing around. It was great. We got to broadcast them last season, and it was always a great finish at the end there last season. And this season, it's been just getting better and better. Pace car lights are off, though, so we'll be going this time by here at Darlington for this 87 series. It's going to be a blast to figure out how this thing ends because it's been a long one so far, but still a lot of racing to go.
Not sure Blaine Atkins is going to know what to do with himself, because on the last few restarts, he's been the one making passes. There's no one left for him to pass, as he's going to be the one that's going to be bringing us to the green.
Yeah, usually when he's up front and taking us to the green here in restarts, he usually just pulls away from everyone in that first corner. We'll see if he can do it here by himself with Brandon Brown behind him in that 12 machine. Can Brown stick with Akin, right now with a fresh machine, he's been looking strong, almost like he's the strongest car out there. As green flag back in the air.
Watch that bright pink 46 of Joseph Causey, who gives a shove there to Brandon Brown at the start-finish line. See how that lost him momentum, and now here comes Harrelson to the outside, but on the last restart, Causey made a move at the start-finish line, moving from fourth up to third, and I thought he might try and take a peek for second there, but instead decided to give a little bit of a bump to the 12 machine.
You might be wondering what happened to Chris Morris Jr. He came into the pits that last caution, so he's got the freshest tires right now, running in 6th place. The cars in front of him, I mean, that is the 07 machine, who's been running back around 12th all race long. Still has the same damage he's had since lap 1. It's out here running in the top 5.
Very impressive debuts here tonight for Brandon Brown, Joseph Causey, Seth Harrelson, all up inside the top 5 right now. And at a track like Darlington, what a track to make your debut in the series at, as the battle will now be for 4th, actually make that 3rd. Jake Hounshell, heard the reaction there, I felt it too, as Hounshell was awfully loose on the bottom underneath the 46 of Causey.
I just want to let you know, Hounshell, that's not the guy who spun you out last time. If you don't want to spin out Causey this time around, Causey's had an eventful day in that 46 machine. He's been hitting that wall off the exit of 2, and he's almost hit the inside wall a couple of times, as here comes Hounshell again on the inside, trying to get 3rd place.
Gonna try it again in turn 3. Let's see if he can make it stick this time, as the left side's kind of hooked that dotted white line a little bit better that time. Rear end didn't step out as much, and he might be able to clear the 46 by the time they get down here into turn 1.
Honestly, if you can somehow see these guys, Causey into the wall and clips the 07 a little bit as they're both drifting it around turn number 2. Both going to be able to get through there cleanly now, but on entry, these guys are wheeling these machines. It's almost like they're on a dirt track with how much they're working it back and forth.
In the front row seat of that was Christopher Morse Jr., and right behind him is Gerald Campbell, who, remember, was hit with an EOL 2 cautions ago, had to restart back from around the 9th, 10th position, has now been able to work his way up to 7th, but right there, the 3 and the 31, these are two guys about 25 laps ago we saw battling 1st and 2nd. They're now back in 6th and 7th.
Yeah, right now the 3 machine looks like he's got the cleanest car of the 2. Campbell has a little bit of that front end damage, and he's already used a fast repair, so Campbell has got to somehow figure out how to save that car, but also move forward without getting any more damage on that 31 machine.
Up towards the front right now, things have gotten pretty well settled out amongst the top 5. Actually, pretty much as far back as the top 8.
Brown
really.
Into the wall. He scraped it twice and into the wall again as the 12 machine spins it around.
right in front of the field. Everyone scatters to take evasive action. I believe everyone avoided him. No, I'm sorry.
Tyler
Nope.
Riggs.
Oh,
He could not slow down enough to avoid the 12 machine. But the 12 machine, that all started on entry of turn number 3. And just throughout the corner, he was bouncing off the wall. And finally, he hit the wall at the right place. And Houndshell had caught the 12. And around he went, spinning around in front of the field.
thought for a brief moment when we went off camera, when the camera went off view, that everyone was going to get by. And this looks very similar to what happened earlier when Blaine Akin and Gerald Campbell got together, where that one car gets up into the wall, loses so much momentum so quickly, there's not enough reaction time for the driver that's behind.
There really isn't. And you saw Houndshell, he was coming in with a head of steam, wasn't trying to make contact, and there's just nowhere else for him to go. And Steinmiller, somehow, in that 75 machine, is running up front, and I believe he's used the fast repair on that machine, as he is now our leader who stayed out.
Steinmiller actually found himself a lap down earlier on in this race, got a free pass, and now, as you said, finds himself up front. He is staying out on 11-lap-old tires. We'll see if this is any strategy for him to at least just get some bonus points for a lap led before coming to pit lane and turning the lead over to what would be Jake Houndshell. It's interesting, too, when we go back and look at that wreck, too. I'm not certain, even if there wasn't contact between Houndshell and the spinning car of Brandon Brown, that 12 car still wouldn't have gone around anyway, because it almost looked like he was already facing the wrong way, spun around, before the contact was made between himself and Houndshell. It was just like Houndshell kind of maybe helped to continue on the spin.
Yeah, the way that he bounced off the wall, it kind of just threw him out and was starting to toss him and make him curl into the wall a little bit, which, like we said, he looked like he was starting to spin. And then Houndshell just was the finishing touch. And it really wasn't Houndshell's fault, like we were saying. It's just that closing rate of after being stuck on the wall for so long can really just bog you down to where the car behind you has nowhere left to go. And as we're talking about this, Tyler Riggs has finally parked his machine after that heavy hit that he had there on the 12 on this last caution. And a rough day for the 26, but looks like it's finally come to an end.
So Riggs will join Jeff Green and Bo Brady in the garage area. That's going to leave us with 14 cars still running. And right now, it looks like 12 of them are going to currently be on the lead lap. Brandon Brown looks like he will be the last of those in the 12th position. A couple of guys that found themselves a lap down or towards the rear of the field for a good portion of this race now are in line to maybe get some really decent finishes. Nicholas Weatherby, that 24 car back there, he was a lap down early. He's in 5th. You've got Robert Hedges, who was a lap down earlier on. He's up to 10th. And you already mentioned about the 75 of Hank Stenmiller. He's now up in 11th.
Stenmiller is going to be one of the cars that just used the fast repair back in lap 92. This pits road that we just had, pit stops, Dallas Myhan, that 41 machine, finally used a fast repair. And right now, I think there's only about 2 drivers that have not used fast repair yet. That is going to be Seth that 07 machine, excuse me, sorry for messing up your name there, as well as Hedges and that 8 machine, Robert Hedges. Both those cars on the lead lap and have not used fast repair just yet.
And I don't think Brandon Brown has used one either, despite bringing out this latest caution. Looks like the damage he has had since the start of the race, and here with this last caution, looks like that has not been repaired yet either.
Taking a look to make sure that is correct for Brown.
Started this race out in front. He is back out in front now with Harrelson second, Campbell third, Morse Jr. in fourth rather. And Weatherby, as we mentioned, now up inside of the top 5. Highest the 24 car has run all day long, and he's up there now, closing in on 80 laps to go. Lights are out atop the pace car. We're going to go back green. It will be with exactly 80 laps remaining. And again, we're still outside that window of these drivers being able to make it on fuel. They're still looking at one more pit stop.
Just looking at some of the people that are watching our broadcast right now, I want to say thanks, Shane Tarian, for coming in and with your comment. Not going to say it out loud on broadcast, but I do respect you coming in with that comment right there. But yeah, right now, the drivers out here, they've got coming up to 80 laps to go. And Houndshell in a pretty good spot at the moment, feeling good, but you got to know that that 31 and 3 machine, they are looking, at least the 3 car, cleanest car out here and probably the quickest one so far. The car that has put down the fastest lap all day, though, that's actually your leader right now, who was your pole sitter. That's Jake Houndshell right now in that 83 machine.
80 laps to go here tonight at Darlington. Green flag is in the air, and boy, Seth Harlson was on it on the back bumper of Houndshell. As soon as he went, the 0-7 went, but he didn't have enough momentum to be able to take a look to the inside going into turn 1.
I mean, and Nicholas Weatherby in 5th place is probably the shocker for me right now in that 24 machine. He used up his fast repairs early in this run, has been just dinging it constantly, and right now it's the 07 who's getting a little bit sideways in front of some of our top players. Right now, Campbell had a hood full of that 07 sideways.
And they stack up again. It's now going to be Morse Jr., Campbell side by side for 3rd. Weatherby there. Blaine Akin, Whitendorf, Causey. 3rd back to about 10th place. All separated by, give it about 0.7 of a second.
And they were about 3 wide back in the back on that front stretch, but it's got to be Christopher Morris pulling out into 3rd place. And then you got Campbell in 4th, Akin in 5th. And these are your 3 fastest cars most of the day who have been running up front all day long, but they drifted back because of heavy contact, needed to use their fast repairs, and just being stuck in traffic. This is the first time all 3 of them been in the top 5 since around lap 40.
That 24 car of Weatherby, just to branch off of what you were saying, I think definitely kind of the surprise of the night, because he took one of the hardest hits we've seen here this evening into the inside wall off of turn 2. Thought that car was going to be done, but decided to use his fast repair then, keep himself in this race, and right now in the 6th position, and he's running a little bit off pace in that 24 machine, but for a guy that spent the first half of this race 1 lap down, this is certainly a far cry better.
It's so much better right now, and looking back, it looks like Brown did utilize his fast repair. So the 12 machine does have a fast repair, has been used, but he's back in 11th. He's got the EOL, so he's got to really work all the way up front. Dallas Mayan's already used his fast repair, as well as Wettendorf, who's also used his fast repair, but has smacked the wall a couple of times. So that's 9th to 11th, who are just cruising. But it's really these cars up front that are trying to hunt down Jake Houndshell, who's slowly pulling away.
You saw the last time into this corner, Gerald Campbell pulling off a drift through turn 3 that a dirt tracker would be proud of, as he tried to get around Christopher Morse on the outside line and had to turn that car hard to the left to make sure he didn't brush the wall on corner entry. He's got Blaine Akin right there with him as well. And again, like we said before that last caution, these are a couple of guys, all these 3 were running up 1st, 2nd, and 3rd at one point, but now it's Jake Houndshell out in front, and I'm starting to see some cloud cover creeping in here, Sam.
Yeah, the track temp has dropped dramatically. We started the race, the track temp was 127 degrees. It actually went up a little bit when we started the race, and now it has dropped because of that cloud cover all the way down to 112 degrees for these drivers. It's still extremely slick, but it's a little bit more manageable than it was before.
This is about the strongest we've seen Jake Houndshell all race long. He lost the race lead on the very first lap to Christopher Morse Jr. And people probably wondering, well, he qualified on the pole. Why haven't we seen him up front dominating this race? But don't forget, only 6 drivers took time in that qualifying session. So we didn't really get that good of an idea of who had what kind of race pace speed based off the Q results.
Yeah, I mean, during practice, it was Jake Howell, Chris Morse Jr., and then also Steinmiller. That were 3 fast
no,
cars.
Chris Morse Jr. off the nose of the 07, and he's going to spin off course. No caution for that.
No caution, and the 3 machine did hit the inside wall. Heavy contact for Chris Morris Jr. And it was almost clear, and it just looked like the 07 got on the gas quicker than 3 machine and spun him around. Contact for the inside front right and a little bit of the rear right. So it was all on the right side. Damage that we've been seeing all race long. And if we get another caution, 3 machine might not be out of it, but he has already utilized that fast repair. He's stuck with this damage that he has.
That is the risk reward of the slide job. Problems for the 07. He ran low on the back straightaway and then into the wall. Coming off of 3 and 4. I'm not sure what's going on with that machine, but it doesn't look good.
All I know is the battle for third. You've got Gerald Campbell and Nicholas Weatherby side by side, and they've been side by side for the past lap as the 24 car and the 31 get loose off of 2.
24 into the wall. Campbell had to duck low to avoid getting run into the passenger side door, as now Hank Steinmiller, first time today, the 75 Valvoline machine is into the top 5.
Kazi gets a little bit close to the 24 car, dings the back bumper just a little bit, gets him loose, and now Weatherby is dropped all the way back to 6th place.
Going back to what we saw happen there with Christopher Morse Jr., when you do a slide job, you are giving up speed off the corner. You're driving it in deep, trying to carry more speed in than the car ahead of you. But when you go back to the 07, he ran the line he wanted to run. It forced Christopher Morse Jr. to do something different, and when he lost the momentum coming off of turn 2, 07 was back to the throttle sooner, and unfortunately, I don't think that Christopher Morse Jr. expected that the 07 was going to be there again.
Woo! I'm watching this battle back here for 6th still, and man, Dallas Myhan almost thought about making it 3 wide, decided otherwise, and they're still trying to jostle back and forth as you've got Brandon Brown also back here in the 12 machine, who was running up front earlier on in this race, but had to drift back because of EOL. And they're still getting all over the place.
Brown just put Harrelson into the wall as he got loose, and you could check another one off the list there, Sam. I'm pretty certain that when we saw the 12 car come to pit lane the second time under that last round of pacing laps, I believe that Brandon Brown can be added to the list of drivers that has now used a fast repair.
Yeah, Brown and Myhan both came in at the same time and both utilized their fast repairs. So it's looking like there's only, I believe, the 07 who's running in 10th right now. He's one of the only cars, as well as Hedges, that might still have a fast repair to be utilized here.
How about Hank Steinmiller, though? What a comeback race for him. He is now up to 4th, and he's hunting down Gerald Campbell for a spot up inside the podium.
Yeah, Steinmiller, like I said, one of the 3 fastest cars during practice. I do not believe he put down a qualifying lap. He did not. Started back in 12th, so he was back in what we would call the hornet's nest at the start of this race and got some early damage that put him a couple of laps down. With all these cautions we've had, the 75 machine able to get back on a lead lap and now has gained a total of 8 positions since the start of the green.
Dallas Myhan and John Whitendorf going to go side by side for 7th. And yeah, with all the cautions we've had up to this point, we're entering in about 15 laps or so from now where these drivers, they'd be in the fuel window to make it the rest of the way, but based on the fact that we've had quite a number of cautions, do you risk coming to pit road, short pitting, getting those tires early, try and make up some ground that way, based on the fact that just looking at the telemetry right now, the difference between fresh tires and old tires is about 1 second and 3/10, maybe 1.5 seconds.
I mean, if I'm one of the leaders and I'm being told that the guys from 7th on back are just racing hard and almost are wrecking every single corner, I would say let's just keep staying out there until a caution does come out, because the way these guys are running and how hard they're going to be running, we've been seeing a caution almost everywhere around I think the longest run we've had is maybe 30 laps or so before these tires gave out and someone creamed that outside wall of corner number 2, as it's going to be the 33 machine right getting under Dallas Myhan in the 41.
A push up there going into turn 1, and with that loss of momentum, here comes Brandon Brown trying to go by for 8th place. No doubt about it, this race has been all about momentum. Whether you're going to make a pass or not, or whether you're going to lose a position or not. It's been more about whether you make a mistake and someone capitalizes more than it's been about raw speed and being able to make a pass because your car is faster than somebody else's.
Yeah, and that's where we're seeing this action back here for 8th place is, can you keep your momentum? And it's been Brown who's been doing a great job. He started way back in, believe, he was all the way back in 12th place. Getting loose off there was the 12 machine. Started back in 12th, has worked his way up to 7th place. And it's still the 33 and 41. They're just staying side by side from one another. Can't really get away from one another at all.
The two nearly made contact through 1 and 2. Almost contact again there out of turn 4. And as the field's starting to get somewhat spread out right now, I mean, this is the only side-by-side battle. Up inside the top 10 as Whitendorf saves it.
Saves it, but he's going to lose a lot of time as now he's going to drop back to where the 3 machine is of Christopher Morris, who once was a person who was contending for the win, now just trying to stay on the lead lap.
And now the side-by-side battle is going to be for 6th between Weatherby and the 24, Brown and the 12. But if we continue to keep this thing green and get into those potential green flag pit stops taking place, opposed to a lot of other racetracks, this is a much different type of racetrack in terms of getting onto pit road. We already mentioned the fact that down below that dotted white line, some drivers actually use that as a passing zone. The transition from the banking of the corners down to the apron, a much smoother transition. However, that can be a blessing and a curse just based on the fact of how loose these race cars are. You have that smooth transition coming down to pit lane, you could end up having that rear end kick around.
Yeah, you're so used to how steep it is on the top end of the racetrack that when you come down to pit road is the Weatherby into the corner. Oh, and he's going to save it. No, he loses it, loops it around into the inside wall for the 24, but he'll be staying too low enough off the racing surface. No caution.
I'm actually really surprised that one did not bring out a yellow, as there was a few oncoming machines, but apparently the spin
nope, he pulled it up. 24 car drove far enough up that the caution will come out this time.
Yes, it will. So Nicholas Weatherby brings out the 7th caution of the day. And this makes things interesting, Sam, because this caution comes out with 66 laps to go. I don't honestly think these drivers can save 13 to 16 laps on fuel. So, we're not near our fuel window just yet, but would there be some gamblers out there just based on the fact that how slow the pace gets the longer we get into a run, that some of these guys might think, maybe because the pace is back down so much, I can save that much.
No, I really don't think that you can save that many laps here, even if I know some of these drivers did come in that last caution before this one and got some pits done, and it's just too far out there for these drivers to save that many laps. Most of them are probably going to come in, try to get as much repairs done, because almost every single one of these drivers have been scraping the wall after every restart. And then they're going to have to come in, get that damage repaired, get fresh tires, get themselves packed full of fuel. Fuel-wise, they should be good to the end from here on out. But I don't think tire-wise they'll be done just yet.
Like I said, I was really surprised the caution did not come out with the fact that the 07 of Harrelson was actually just behind the 24, who was facing 90 degrees the wrong way, beginning his spin to the inside wall. But you see right there, that was when the caution came out. And at the time the caution came out, I believe he was ahead of the 83 of Jay Cownshell. We'll have to see if he continues to be scored a lap down. Robert Hedges, who had just been put a lap down, is going to be the recipient of the free pass under this, our 7th yellow of the night.
And it's still crazy that we've been able to run a couple, at least it's anywhere from 25 to 35 laps green. We have not gotten to the point where we can have green flag pit stops, but it seems to be that's the window that we have been getting to before these cars just absolutely fall apart and you're just creaming the outside wall that's causing these cautions. So we'll have to wait and see if these drivers can go for another 20 to 30 laps before another caution comes out, or if we even can go longer than that here this race as the laps are ticking away.
And these restarts have not been calm. Yes, we've had these longer green flag runs, but we have had incidents under these restarts that haven't necessarily brought out cautions. So if we continue to get a couple more cautions, the closer and closer we get to the end of this race, we're going to see the aggression kick up. We're going to see the slide jobs be a little bit more frequent, I'm sure. The bumping and banging, I think, is going to increase as well. And it's going to make things interesting, especially with the fact that at this point, just about everybody in the field has used their fast repairs. So they've got what they've got, and now they got to bring those machines home in one piece.
Everyone has practically used their repairs. I believe there were only about 2 cars that I was watching to see if they were going to use a fast repair here in the late stages. That was going to be the 07, the 07 and the 8 machine, and still have not used their fast repairs that I believe. I'm going to do a quick look, though, as we're still under pace laps to see if the 07 and the 8 have used their fast repairs. I know everyone else in the field has utilized their fast repairs already.
Well, Randy Koking has taken his car back behind the wall. He'll finish this race in the 15th position. We mentioned that Hedges is now the recipient of the free pass. He'll be back in the lead lap in 11th, with Weatherby now 3 laps down, getting damage repaired. Todd Eldridge still 6 laps down. He's the last car running in 13th place. And Sam, we'll give you an opportunity to be able to go and see if indeed those 2 machines did use their fast repair. As we are closing on 50 laps to go, we're going to take another commercial break here as Jake Hounshell, your pole sitter, out in front here tonight at Darlington. You won't miss a thing as we go FRN side by side. Welcome back here to race number 5 of the G-Force Sim Racing Hijinx Clothing Company 87 series at Darlington Raceway. We're closing in on 50 laps to go here tonight, working our 7th caution of the evening. Jake Hounshell started on the pole. He will lead us back here to the green, closing in on the 50 lap to go marker.
And the green flag back out in the air. And like we said before we went to that commercial break, I went to go check to see if the 8 and the 07 have used the fast repair. Both of them have not utilized the fast repair yet. Still on the lead lap. So they might be waiting for some of our top runners maybe to get more damage on their vehicles so then they could utilize those fast repairs. And it's a caution in the back.
Lane Atkin is going to bring out this 8th caution of the night as he loops it around off of turn 2. trying to get that car refired, and it's looking like it will not refire for him.
Oh, and it looked like he wasn't going to get that much damage until he got clobbered in the back by Todd Eldridge.
Well, Eldridge, right now, in line to finish at least 12th place here tonight, as another driver has been pushed behind the wall into the garage area, that being the 24 of Nicholas Weatherby, who brought out the 7th caution of the evening, and Eldridge just now moved from 13th up to the 12th position, as we'll go back and see what happened to two-time winner Blaine Atkin.
Kind of started at the start of the corner, and it just kept spinning around for the machine.
Race with 2 early wins on the season as the points leader, and oh my goodness, look at him try and wheel that thing, and finally, oh wow, what a shot. After he gets up into the wall, gets clobbered from behind, as you said, by Todd Eldridge, and up into the air, all 4 wheels off the racing surface. And Blaine Atkin, let's not forget, Blaine Atkin, Todd Eldridge, these are a couple of guys who had already used their fast repairs, so the damage they've sustained now, it's up to their pit crews to be able to repair them, and it looks like Blaine Atkins isn't even going to wait for his crew to repair it. He has brought his car back behind the wall, so this could, even though we're only 5 races into this 16-race schedule, Darlington could be making some huge championship implications.
Yeah, no, this is massive. I mean, you've got Blaine Atkin, who really didn't have a good day today, who's going to be back in 11th outside the top 10. With how fast that machine was, you thought for sure that the 05 would have been at least up in the top 5. But with that caution and him being disconnected from the race, a shocker to see.
Looks like Atkin will finish in 12th place, about 5 laps, and Todd Eldridge will take 11th from him. And right now, Eldridge is the only car off the lead lap. I think probably due to the fact he was involved in that wreck, he would not be the recipient of the free pass, plus the fact he's sitting on pit road trying to get extensive repairs done, as that was front end first that he made contact into the back of Blaine Atkins. So Eldridge more than likely will not get back into the running for a spot up inside of the lead lap machines. Could still maybe salvage a top 10 depending on what happens here in these final 50 laps or so. But the field right now of the drivers that are left to settle it out: Jake Hounshell, the leader; Gerald Campbell, second; Brandon Brown now up in third; Dallas Myhan, fourth; John Whitendorf, fifth; Seth Harlson, sixth; Joseph Causey, seventh; Christopher Morse Jr. in eighth; Hank Stenmiller in ninth; and last car on the lead lap is Robert Hedges in the 10th position. I mean, Sam, we've had about 140 laps to observe these drivers. We've had long green flag runs, 4 of them for about 20 to 25 laps. Do we see anybody yet that is a clear driver that looks like he's going to be the one to go to victory lane yet?
Hey, it's kind of hard to say. I mean, Campbell was caught up in some stuff that made it to where he couldn't really run down Hounshell. Hounshell, that last restart, had a lot of different cars that gave him so much space to work with that no one could get close to him. Brown had to drive through all that traffic to finally get up to third. Dallas Myhan was saving his fast repair until about 20 laps ago. Now he's up in fourth. It's just going to be our top 4 are cars that possibly any one of them could win this race, and even cars behind them that we could still see some of our top drivers come off of 2 and just absolutely destroy their car off the outside wall and just ruin the rest of their day. We're not going to for sure know who's going to win this thing until that last lap, because I don't even think on that last lap we'll know coming off of 2 if any of our leaders are okay or not.
Now, the top 5 have not been to pit road since back on lap 131. We did have a couple of drivers pit under this caution: Christopher Morse Jr., Hank Steinmiller, and Robert Hedges. And we are now in the 50 lap to go margin, which is the number you put out as far as being able to make it on fuel. With the fact that we didn't see a number of our front runners come to pit road with this pacing laps here, does this say to you that these guys now feel confident they are good to go the rest of the way? They're not willing to give up the track position now?
I think it just shows how much important track position is. all the drivers behind, they were outside. They needed some damage repair. It's the way they came into the pits. Our front runners, they could still be out there for a couple of laps, and kind of saw this on our last. I think it was about three cautions ago, where we had some drivers come into the pits, and then we had a quick caution. Our top 5 to 8 drivers stayed out. Everyone else came into the pits, and then we had another quick. We went green for about, I think, 20 laps or so, and then we had another caution, and that's when these guys up front last pitted, and then we just had a quick caution again, and who knows, we might go green for another 20 to 30 laps before we see our next caution, just based on the pattern that we've been seeing all day long.
Just to give an idea of just how important it is, with the fact that Blaine Atkin DNF'd from this race as far as the points battle goes for the points lead. Jake Houndshell came into this race second in the point standings. He was only, I believe my calculations are correct, I think he was about 44 points behind Blaine Atkin for the points lead. And Dallas Myhan, third in points, is now up here in the 4th position. He was only 50 points out of the points lead. So they are going to gain some ground here today at Darlington, provided they can finish up here inside the top 5.
And coming into turn number 1, it's going to be Houndshell really holding strong and doing well right now, but you know that he's got a lot of hungry drivers, and that's going to be Campbell, who's going to be just diamonding that corner, trying to get more of an early apex, as he's going to be trying to make a run here on the backstretch, not able to do so. Brown's just going to be lingering behind. It's Houndshell gets a little loose in the middle of the corner, going to be losing the first place position and second as well.
Opened up the door, and Gerald Campbell was more than happy to step on through to the lead. Brandon Brown will follow in his tire tracks into the second position, and now Houndshell, who led the last 20 or 25 laps, he's now back in the 3rd position, having to try and recover and get back up to the race lead.
This is what I was talking about. Our top 4, really anyone up here could win this thing, as the laps are going to start ticking away. Here comes Brown, who had a really good entry into that corner and trying to get a better exit off from Campbell.
Campbell a little wide there off of 4, nearly got the outside safer barrier off the final corner and almost looped it around as well, as now Brown looks back in his rearview mirror and has the 83 of Houndshell right on his left rear quarter panel.
Out of all the cars in our top 4 right now, Campbell has the most damage on his front end, but he's going to be trying to do the best he can. But Houndshell, really, he's not out of this. Yes, and Brown gets into the outside wall.
Saw that car step out as soon as he turned left to get into the corner, and that car never turned. The rear tires slid up into the wall he went. He's now going to drop at least back to 5th, maybe not even stay in the top 5, as here comes the 07 of Harlson. Took a look, couldn't get there.
Harlson's not going to be able to make the move there, and like we said, it seems like everyone in the back, it's just a hornet's nest back here. And up guys up front trying to split off and make as many moves as they can. And speaking of moves, 3 Machine trying to get under Kazi and trying to get by the 46 is Chris Morris Jr. and just not able to do so, as he just doesn't have the exit speed that he once had due to the damage that this 3 car has ensued.
Yeah, remember he got the inside wall that didn't bring out a caution during the last green flag run and had already used his fast repair up to that point. You can see the rumple on the back bumper of that good run Chevy Lumina, so he's going to have to carry that for the rest of the race. As Brandon Brown, who we saw have his moment a couple of laps ago, he's going to move by John Whitendorf back up to the 4th position, as they're double wide behind him again. That's Morse Jr. and Causey once again side by side.
And Brown's going to try to make the pass for 3rd here, but also up front, Houndshell has finally caught back up to the 31 Machine, and he's trying to get by, but...
Oh, no, we got a spinner. Oh, right in the middle of the pack.
Oh.
Brown collects up Whitendorf. I think that Harlson and Causey got bits of it as well.
And we're going to take a quick look at this, and it looks like Dallas Myhan looked like his car was starting to step out. He had to pull it down and made contact. Might have been Netco, but it looked like there was contact between the 41 and the 12 that started that incident.
And unfortunately, with the banking here at Darlington, more often than not, the car is going to drift back up the racetrack. Nowhere for Whitendorf to go, as he was blockaded up there between the 12 and the outside wall. And then you had Joseph Causey and Seth Harrelson trying to get on the brakes to avoid, but they both got some damage out of that as well.
Yes, Dallas Myhan was coming down onto the 12 Machine, but there was slight netcode, maybe about an inch or two of netcode that just launched the 12 machine to the inside, I should say.
Riding on board here with Joseph Causey in that Days of Thunder Superflow paint scheme on his 46, and you can just see he had a car to his inside, which was Christopher Morse Jr., so he was committed to the outside line, could not get down to the bottom due to the fact he had a car on driver's left, and unfortunately, the fact that both the 33 and the 12 had drifted up the racetrack sustained damage in this one.
Yeah, the 33, 46, 12, 07, all contact. I think Morse Jr. was the lucky one that was able to get by without a scratch. And now that we're coming to 40 laps to go, the 07 machine finally utilizing that fast repair, and it will be the cleanest car out there.
Gerald Campbell going to win the battle off pit road. My Hand, Houndshell, and that 07 of Harrelson going to be your top four, followed by Christopher Morse Jr. And now with everybody pitting, they're in the fuel window now. Everybody can make it the rest of the way should we go green to the end, but with how hairy these restarts have been, you just get the feeling we have not seen our last caution of the day.
Yeah, no, right now these drivers, they're everyone's mindset now is conserve your car until the final couple of laps. Everyone has utilized their fast repair except for Robert Hedges, I believe, in that 8 machine. He's the one with the final and last fast repair, has not utilized it yet. Our most recent driver to use it is going to be the 07. We'll see if that machine can make it to the end, but I doubt that it'll make it in that clean of a machine. But it's going to help to have the cleanest car out there.
Now, we saw earlier on that last run, Houndshell was reeling in Gerald Campbell. And we talked about the fact of how important track position is. With the type of setup these drivers have, the way that these race car handles, just how important is clean air at a track like Darlington?
Clean air is super useful. It helps your car turn a little bit better. If you're in dirty air, your car just wants to plow, and if you get too close to a car's bumper, it could actually cause you to get actually a little bit loose, getting back onto the throttle and on entry. So these drivers are dealing with a lot of issues up here, but it's one of the best things to be up front and have that clean air, and that's why Gerald Campbell, even with the damage that he has on that 31 machine, he's in a very good spot at the moment.
Well, Dallas My Hand is the highest he has run all day, not barring the lap that he ended up leading under pacing when we were under caution at one point. He, of course, finished runner-up back at the Daytona race, almost by a half a car length, was able to get Ashton Schleiss at the line. Right now, trying to see if he can get himself back up to second in the point stands, where he has been running most of the season. Hit a little bit of a snag last week at Atlanta Motor Speedway, dropped to third in points, but been doing a pretty good job of coming back after some early issues. He's been involved in at least 2 wrecks here today. I know that he had at least one incident that brought out the caution, but good comeback run for him. You've got Christopher Morse Jr. back there, who was out in front for a good portion, probably the first third of this race. He's still in that 5th position. Right now, you got Jake Houndshell in that 3rd place. And the reason we're looking at these drivers in particular, these are the guys that are trying to take advantage here tonight of the early exit by points leader and 2-time winner Blaine Atkin.
Which we just got an update from Blaine Atkin in our YouTube chat, and said that his steering wheel actually tried to reset on him in the middle of the race, and once it turned back on, it actually caused him to lose that get his car lose control of his vehicle, and that's why he had so many issues throughout the night. But Blaine Atkin, we know he'll come back, he'll rebound from this, but it is not the night that he wanted. Going to be finishing out this race in 12th place.
Certainly would explain the evasive left and right turns we saw him making through turns 1 and 2, eventually going around off of the second corner. And that's the one thing about running on an iRacing sim. More often than not, you're not only at the mercy of your race car, you're not only at the mercy of the competition around you, but you're at the mercy of technology, which is not always going to be on your side.
Us on FRN, we've been seeing this happen a lot lately, and where it's not always just simulation and online troubles. It's equipment issues that will pop up. Sometimes your screen will freeze, or you'll have steering wheel issues. For some, you might have controller issues, and it's part of the game that happens sometimes. But you just got to bounce back at this as pace car rolls off. It's going to be Gerald Campbell in that 31 machine leading us to the green here on this restart.
Campbell, Myhand, Hounshell, Harrelson, and Morse Jr. the top 5 as the green flag is back in the air. 36 laps to go here tonight at Darlington.
And really, right now, Hounshell trying to figure out how to get by that 31 machine. Get by the 41 machine, I should say, as quick as possible. Dallas Myhand, though, he's trying to figure out how to hold off, as Hounshell has got a very quick car. And you also got to watch out for that 07, as that is the freshest car out here who just finally used his reset.
Yeah, Hounshell, you're right, has had a fast car today. He's also had that number 1 pit stall after getting the pole position that has helped him to gain a couple of spots when we've been under these cautions, as well as we're side by side for the 4th position. Harrelson trying to hold off Christopher Morse Jr., who drives it in deep and slides up the corner. Harrelson almost into the wall, and I think he is into the wall off of turn 2.
Yeah, he almost brushed the outside wall there in the middle of the corner, continues to go so, and Harrelson's going to be dropping back. What once was a squeaky clean car looks like it is extremely loose and just getting worse out there. And I got to say, the track temp for these drivers has just been dropping lower and lower as the race goes on. As right now, it's 107 degrees out there on track.
And a cooler track means more grip. More grip means more potential passes up at the front. And we're about to have one, as Hounshell had an amazing exit off of turn 2. Right on the back bumper of Campbell, all the way down the back straightaway.
Was able to get by Myhand, was the 83, and now right on the back bumper of the 31. Hounshell looks like he's got the fastest car on track as he dips it down low, decides otherwise, as he just did not have enough speed there on the front stretch.
It was hard to tell if he turned it down there on purpose or if the rear tires pointed the front tires down to the inside line off of turn 4. Either way, though, he took a peek and still continues to look here as the battle behind them's going to happen for 3rd place. That's Dallas Myhand, Christopher Morse Jr., and you got Hank Steinmiller back there waiting in the wings as well in the 5th position.
Yeah, it looks like Hounshell's just waiting for Campbell to make a mistake, but also kind of getting a little impatient. Wants to move the 31 machine. You got to be careful not to utilize the bumper too much to spin the car out, because if you cause a caution, you're going to be the one hit with an EOL and having to start the next restart at the end of the line.
And we've already brought up just how difficult it's been for these drivers to pass here, so you do not want an EOL at a track like Darlington, as 3rd place will go to the 3. Christopher Morse Jr. gets around Dallas Myhand. Looks like Myhand wasn't really willing to put up that much of a fight right now, but the fight is still up there at the front. Campbell with a rear mirror completely filled up with the pole sitter Jake Hounshell.
I know you want to look through your mirror and drive through your mirror, but you got to look forward. Make sure you hit your marks. This track is so tricky. You have to stay concentrated right from the green. You are constantly worrying about, will your car step out from under you and how to save the machine. Yes, you have to worry about the car behind you, but really more focus on your car right now, Campbell, as that 83 still trying to get in front of him, just not able to. And I got to give credit to that 3 machine of Christopher Morse Jr., who got that damage basically about 20 laps ago after resetting his machine. Not able to reset again because he ran out. But even with that damage, running 3rd and running very similar lap times to our leaders.
And let's not forget, too, that this battle we're looking up here at the front between Campbell and Hounshell, these were 2 of the prime contenders last week at Atlanta for the race win. Hounshell, of course, going on to win that race. Campbell finishing in 3rd, and now 1 week later, the 2 of them are duking it out here tonight at Darlington.
Yeah, and last week was Gerald Campbell's first race here in this series, and Hounshell, who's been here practically from the start. So Hounshell kind of an advantage for points-wise, but race-wise, trying to do best he can to get as many wins, and so he can gain up on Blaine Atkins as much as possible here with that 0-5 out of the race at the moment.
You saw a battle possibly brewing back there for the 4th position as Steinmiller trying to reel in Dallas Myhand, but we're going to keep it up here at the front for the moment. See if maybe Hounshell's going to be able to close the gap up between himself and Campbell, because that's been the best battle, at least for the moment, up inside of the top 5.
Yeah, outside of the top 5, it looks like Dallas Myhand getting loose out of 2. It's going to be Brown who just absolutely kills the outside wall, getting able to keep that car straight, but that 12 machine completely riddled with damage now and having to just completely just tiptoe his way around the corners now and back in 8th place.
It's been a race of survival, if you will, for the race cars here tonight. A lot of drivers just trying to limp their machines around and get the best finish possible. Looks like everybody, with the exception of Todd Eldridge, is going to finish here tonight at Darlington with a top 10 run, as your 10 machines that are still on the lead lap are all the way back from Campbell to Hedges. Eldridge right now 13 laps down in that 11th position, as up at the front. I don't know. Did Houndshell use up his stuff too much too early here, and now Campbell is being able to open up the gap just a little bit?
A little bit here. It just looks like Campbell's just been hitting his marks a little bit better than what Houndshell has been, and just going forward, it looks like the 83 car, he's just going to have to reset and get back out there, as he did not hit the wall. It's just he lost momentum and hasn't been able to gain it back, as he just hasn't been hitting his marks properly.
And don't forget, as we mentioned, that this series does not run with a playoff system, with a chase system. It's not a win-you're-in situation. So yes, Jake Houndshell went to victory lane last week, but he cannot rest on his laurels with that trip to victory lane. He has to keep the aggressiveness going. He needs to try and see if he can find victory lane again. That's why he is doing the best he can to try and reel in Gerald Campbell.
And right now, the drivers do not need to pit. They've already done their final pit stop. They're good to make it to the end. So right now, it's a race until you get to that checkered flag. And right now, everyone's doing a pretty good job being split up, not really having to worry about their tires at the moment. But based on the pattern that we've seen all race long, it's when they're about 25 to 30 laps on these tires, and they'll hit that marker in the next 10 laps or so. So we might not have seen our last caution of the day.
Well, don't look now, Sam. We had only 2 cars up here in our shot for the race leaders moments ago. Fastest car on track the last 3 laps, 3rd place running Christopher Morse Jr.,
who hasn't really been challenged by anyone so far on this restart, and that's really what's helped the 3 machine save his tires a lot better than our top 2 have been, who previously were right on top of one another, battling and pushing each other to race as hard as they can and wasting their tires. And it's all about tire conservation mode. And right now, the 3 machine might have been the one that did the best of it so far.
Last time by, Campbell a 31.5, Houndshell a 31.6, Christopher Morse in a high 31.4. It was about 7/100ths faster than race leader Gerald Campbell, who we're seeing actually maybe overstep the cushion just a little bit, as he's brushed the wall a couple of times here on these last 3 or 4 laps.
Yeah, this is something we stated earlier, though. You can hit the wall at the right spot, and it actually will help you get yourself through the corners. Houndshell going to be scraping the wall, exiting off of 2. That's going to be hurting the 83 just a little bit. But if you hit the wall at the right spot in the corners, it actually will help you turn a lot better and come off the center faster than a car that would just be turning on the racing surface, not hitting the wall. So could be a slight advantage for the 31 if he's hitting the right spots.
Got a battle going on here as 07 of Harlson got a little loose there off of 4.
Whoa!
Contact between himself and Brandon Brown, as Brown will move into 7th place. But, I said it before when these guys were up a little bit further to the front, but still the fact they've been able to survive, remain in the lead lap. Brandon Brown, the 12, Seth Harlson in the 07, Joseph Causing the 46. Great debut races for them here tonight at what's been a tough one at Darlington.
Oh, this is probably one of the toughest racetracks and just races overall to come in and get your debut. But they've done a great job all coming in and should be getting a top 10 finish. A good way to start your season, and you know that it's just going to get better from here on out. As a battle for second, Christopher Morse Jr. right there on the back bumper of Jake Houndshell.
Now the question is, how long is it going to take for Morse to be able to get around Houndshell for that second position? And in the amount of time it takes him, could Campbell use that to his advantage to open up a little bit more distance between himself and whoever emerges the second place driver from this battle?
Yeah, I mean, he's already done it so far for Campbell. He's already pulled away by a 10th. And the ball, there goes Houndshell!
And he's gonna hit the wall.
Into the inside wall. No caution out, and immediately over the radio. I know you guys can't hear it as viewers, but I can hear it right now. Morris Jr. immediately came on the radio and said, "I'm so sorry," because he knew that he just came off the corner so much faster, and that closing rate is what cost the 83 and has ruined his day. Now back to 8th place.
And with Houndshell getting involved in this one and dropping all the way back to 8th, that's going to help the cause of one Blaine Atkin, because the guy that was going to be able to really take a big chunk out of his points lead was the guy we're looking at, that 83 machine. Now he's going to finish what looks like maybe about 4 positions ahead of Blaine Atkin here tonight, so not going to gain nearly as many points as he would have, even if he was up there running in the 2nd or even 3rd position.
Yeah, right now only going to be gaining about a handful of points, if that. What could have been a massive gain, like you said, absolutely not looking that great. As right now, Gerald Campbell coming up to lap traffic. That's going to be the 8 machine of Robert Hedges in front of the 31, and there goes Hedges around in front of our leader. Looks like he'll be able to save it on the apron.
And we just saw Seth Harrelson clobber the wall off of 2 and nearly spin it as he headed down to the inside wall off of turn 2 as well. So even though we've seen that near spin there by Jake Houndshell, we're not out of the woods yet of maybe seeing a late race caution.
Yeah, we kind of just hit that marker of where we start to see drivers getting a little bit more loose, pushing their car further than they should be, where they start hitting the outside wall and bringing out a caution. So these drivers right now trying to keep it under control, but still hard racing out here. Is also the battle for 8th underway, as it looks like Houndshell able to get by Kazi in that 46 machine for 8th place.
Kazi with a lot of front end damage on that machine, not able to wrestle the 8th position away from Jake Houndshell. A little bit further up towards the front, you got a battle possibly brewing for 4th place. Ooh, Whitendorf. Boy, he got loose going into turn 1,
and he hit the wall. He got loose, and he just tried to save it by keeping his foot in the pedal, but that's going to cost him hitting the wall. That's the main thing right now. Your car is getting looser and looser, which is causing you to think, I just need to get into the throttle, and I can't lose any more time. And you just carry so much speed that it's too much. And you'll be hitting the outside wall off it too, and you just got to be careful not to do that. Is Campbell right now trying to hit every single marker he can to not get wrecked out, but to stay in first for most of this run coming to the end here.
And with over a 2-second gap back to Christopher Morse Jr., he wants to see this race go green to the end. He does not want to see a caution, as we saw this battle turn bad for Seth Harrelson earlier on when he got the wall off of turn 2, but he is starting to reel back in Brandon Brown. So the battle for 6th place may be on the next couple of laps.
And it looks like more hardship for Brown. I mean, not for Brown, but for Houndshell, I should say. As he, once again, hitting off the outside wall off of 2 and dropping him back to 9th again, getting passed by Kazi.
So the driver here tonight, depending on what happens in these final 13 laps, that could be capitalizing, could very well be that 41 of Dallas Myhand. Right now, he is running 5 positions ahead of Jake Houndshell. And with Blaine Atkin out of the race, he currently is running, I believe it's 8 positions ahead of where Atkin would finish here this evening. All these drivers, Houndshell, Myhand, and Atkin, have taken turns at the front, so they have gotten bonus points for laps led. And I'm not certain. Houndshell maybe might have the bonus point for most laps led locked up. I'm not sure, because we had Christopher Morse Jr. lead a good portion of the early stages of this race, so I'm not really sure who has led the most laps here tonight.
Yeah, we know Campbell is leading right now, but he also led a little bit earlier on, so 31 could be thrown out there, but I think it is between Houndshell as himself, as the 8 machine clobbers the wall hard, coming back on the racing surface, able to keep it straight. We stay green, but the engine for that 8 machine is gone.
Robert Hedges was already a lap down, had just been put a lap down to the race leaders. 10th place is where he was running, and now he's going to have to bring that wounded Oreo Ritz Chevrolet down to pit lane. His day may be over, as we know that he has already used one of his faster pairs. Now he brings it to a stop here just before pit road entrance. I think he thought he might have wrecked out of turn 2 and thought he was having to come back around to turns 3 and 4. I don't think he realized pit road entrance was there.
Well, it's sneaking up on drivers. That pit entry is super narrow compared to what other racing surfaces are, and we saw that with Tyler Riggs earlier on in the race. He's told us like that it just sneaks up on you on that entry and carried way too much speed for the 8 car. Luckily to continue forward, and we'll try to finish out this race if he can, but heavy damage for the 8 car. And I was looking at the way the drivers are running now. Everyone's so spread out that there are no real passes or battles going on. But from 3rd to 7th place, those are all drivers that qualified outside of the top 10. They're going to be finishing in the top 10.
Looking out the back of Gerald Campbell, and that little black speck that you can see out there, that is Christopher Morse Jr. over 3 seconds back right now, not within striking distance. And all these near moments that we've been having with the 07, with the 83, the 8 car just moments ago, Gerald Campbell sitting there wondering, is that going to be bringing out a caution? Am I going to have to go back and defend this top position yet again? Or am I going to be able to have this nice 3.5 second cushion towards the checkered flag?
Well, right now, Campbell is running the fastest car right now. Only car on track running a 31.9 second lap. Everyone else is running a 32 or higher. And I got to say, the second fastest car on track, that's going to be the 75 machine in 3rd, who is slowly chipping away at that 3 machine, but it just might not be enough laps.
Hank Steinmiller started this race with issues, found himself a lap down early. He didn't even get back on the lead lap until around lap 75, and then made forward progress from there on out, and right now in position to be bringing it home in a podium spot.
I think Steinmiller at one point was actually 3 laps down and finally got himself unlapped when we hit the 100 lap brand marker. And now the 75 machine, caution, in the field, and I think that's going to put us, and that's going to end the race.
Joseph Causey off of turn 2. You saw the skid marks as it looked like he clobbered the inside wall. It shot his car back up the racetrack towards the racing surface.
That looked exactly like one of our first cautions of the day by Nicholas Weatherby, with how violent the outside wall hit was and the inside wall was. Just a huge and disastrous day for that 46 machine. Not the way he wanted to end it. That's for sure.
And you brought it up. This race could very well be ending under caution because due to 1987 rules, green-white checkers were not implemented then, and we do not have any overtime restarts here. As wow, hard shot there, as you mentioned, for Joseph Causey, who at the time looked like he was en route to finish in the position he's running. Looks like he would have finished in 9th place, but that car all torn up in the front, and you're exactly right. Identical hit to what we saw happen to the 24 of Weatherby earlier on in this race.
And we're waiting to see. But
31?
Gerald Campbell came into the pits.
He did.
I don't think he realized the rules. And Gerald just dumped it into the inside wall. He just ruined his race.
I am complete shock. Now, this is only the second week that Gerald Campbell has made a start here in the series, but I think you're right. I think he didn't realize there were no overtime cautions, and he's now put his car behind the wall. He just realized he just gave this win away.
I think Gerald Campbell thought that maybe since it was going to end under caution, that after you cross the line, that's it. You don't have to finish it. I don't know what was going through his mind. But the 31 car just threw this race away and just handed it to the 3 machine of Christopher Morse Jr., who really didn't have a right to win this race after the contact and wrecks that he was involved at the end of this thing, but finds himself in the first place position, and so does Steinmiller and Dallas Myhan in 3rd.
This is a la April 9th, 1994. We're in a Busch Series race. Mark Martin at Bristol pulled to pit road after taking the white flag, but not coming around to take the checkers, and David Green went on to win the race. This is almost exactly the same kind of a situation. Campbell, who was going to win this race under caution, he pulls it to pit lane, and then realizing his mistake could not get back out there, and the guy who was running second, who was 3.5 seconds back before that caution came out, is going to reap the rewards and get his first win of the season.
And due to the fact that Campbell did not finish out this race and how many laps are left, it's going to be close, but Hedges might be able to get up to 8th place.
We'll have to wait and see. And Hedges, yeah, he was able to get his car back out there despite the engine damage we saw him sustain from his hit into the inside wall during that last green flag run. But right now, the top three is completely changed. Not only does Christopher Morris Jr. move up to the race lead, potentially getting handed this race win, but Hank Steinmiller is en route for his best finish of the season in second, and Dallas Myhand, who is very much in the conversation of trying to battle for the points lead, now he moves up into the third and final podium position.
And you gotta wonder if maybe the admins are gonna switch up the call, but that's just a straight miss call by the 31 machine, and that is a shocker to see, and you really don't get to see it very often, but it's been such a long race. These guys have been racing and mentally fatigued for 2 hours and 11 minutes when that caution came out, and maybe it was just a simple lapse in judgment, but the 3-car of Christopher Morris Jr., who at one point was one of the fastest cars out here, got caught up in some late accidents, didn't have a fast repair to repair that 3 machine, was in second, didn't have enough time to catch up to the 31 machine, but a caution came out, and now he's got the lead at the moment.
And the amount of time for the race session just went to zeros, as the field is there on the back straightaway, so that couldn't have been timed any better, as we're coming around to get the checkered flag here at Darlington. And boy, if people didn't stick around for the end of this race, they missed out on some very strange circumstances on the final caution laps of this event. He was second when the caution came out, but he will be the race leader and the race winner here tonight, as first win of the season will happen here tonight at Darlington. Christopher Morse Jr. gonna cross the line and win the Southern 250.
Steinmiller somehow going to get second after his woes. I mean, Dallas Myhand, who saved his fast repair for the final 40 laps of this race, that 41 machine finds himself in third place and getting a podium finish after the chaos and weirdness of the way that this race ended.
And as we are going to wait to see if Christopher Morse Jr., well, I thought maybe he was going to be heading to the front straight for some burnouts, but he may be kind of the mindset of we are, of where he may not have necessarily earned this victory, but he is officially the winner, and it looks like he's actually going to do some Polish victory laps here at Darlington, a la Alan Kulwicki. But we'll look at the full finish results in just a moment. But John Whitendorf, we didn't really mention that 33 much today, except for the times we saw him skating it into the corners on entry. He's going to finish fourth. And Brandon Brown, we saw him and Seth Harrelson in some pretty good battles in the closing stages. He'll get a top 5 with Harrelson right behind him in sixth.
I mean, that is crazy to look at. Houndshell, I know he didn't like the fact that he was spun out, but he's still going to finish in the top 10 with a 7th place finish. Robert Hedges able to get by Gerald Campbell for 8th place, and Gerald Campbell 9th place after a mental relapse that cost him the win, but somehow getting a top 10 finish. And then you got Causey in that 46 machine finishing up 10th.
And looks like the 3-car going to sit here on the start-finish line. And he will be probably getting out celebrating with the fans. So let's take the opportunity here and show you the full finish results. We ran you down through the top 10. Those were the drivers that finished this race out. And then the drivers that made some early exits. You did have Todd Eldridge still finish out this race. He was 20 laps down, but he finished 11th. And then drivers that DNF'd: Blaine Acken, Nicholas Weatherby, Tyler Riggs, Randy Koking, Jeff Green, and Bo Brady. Bo Brady went to the garage area about 5 laps in, a very early end to his night, but probably the least mentally exhausted of the drivers here this evening. I mean, we ran 187 laps here tonight, but I think if we talk with some of these guys, they would feel that they were out there possibly running about a 350 lap race.
Yeah, this was a long race for a lot of these guys, and I mean, if it's just a long race where you've got the car under control, that's one thing. But 2 hours and almost 15 minutes of just hard racing with you're not knowing if your car's going to slip under you every single lap and constantly wheeling this thing around, that is a long and tiring 2 hours and 187 laps for these guys.
We're waiting to see if we can get some interviews with our top 3 finishers. And as we are waiting on that, I mean, the road just gets tougher. We've seen these drivers fighting the race cars at the Superspeedway of Daytona. We saw them slipping and sliding around Rockingham, Richmond, last week at Atlanta, tonight at Darlington. Next week, we go short track racing with these cars at North Wilkesboro Speedway. It's a day race, which says to me track conditions again are going to be awfully slick, and they're going to have to do that for 200 circuits.
Yeah, it shouldn't be as long as this race was, and it shouldn't be as reckless, and not reckless, I should say. That's not the right word to use, but more of like handful for these drivers. But it's going to be really, you got to stay focused at North Wilkesboro because short track racing, you never know what type of an accident you're going to have to avoid because honestly, one simple spin could cause the big one and wreck out most of the field.
We're going to wait and see if we can get some of our top 3 finishers, as mentioned, in here for some post-race interviews. No doubt everybody getting out of their cars, kind of trying to figure out what happened there in the closing stages of this race, including your winner, Christopher Morris Jr. So as we're waiting for some of our drivers to get in here for post-race interviews, we're going to take a brief intermission, and we'll be right back here for continuation of the post-race show here on the Flatout Racing Network. Well, we welcome you back here this evening for the post-race show for tonight's event here for the G-Force series. I'm still in complete shock of what just happened here, as I'm sure many others are as well. And we're actually going to get some drivers' point of views here as well, as we're about to interview our top 3 finishers of the night. And we're going to start things off with third place running Dallas Myhand. Dallas, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me?
Yes, I do.
Well, let's start from the beginning of this race. A lot of drivers seem to really be struggling here today at Darlington. A lot of damage sustained, but you were one of the drivers that stuck it out the longest before taking your fast repair. What played into that strategy?
I knew it was a long race, and I knew these cars can take a pretty good beating in these cars, and I know if I at least stay on the lead lap and keep up with the drivers, I can at least wait as long as possible to take my faster pair.
We talk about the fact that, in this type of a system with the points where there is no playoffs, there is no postseason, it's all about accumulating the most points you can at season's end to win the championship. We saw competition for the points lead Blaine Atkins have early issues. Jake Hounshell ran into problems in the final 50 laps or so. You were able to keep yourself up there at the front. Was there any point in your mind where you were keeping track of those guys thinking about points?
I mean, I think the last 80 or so laps, I was trying to keep track of where Blaine was and where Jake was, and I'm a really good points racer. I'm not really the driver who goes out and wins every week. I'm really consistent, and I know if at least I can stay to the end of the race and be there. I know I'll be in the top five at least.
Well, obviously, a very difficult track it seemed like here tonight for you drivers to have to handle. What was the biggest thing for you that you had to do to be able to conquer this track?
Well, I think mid race, someone like had a secret during the race where you can shift in 3 and 4. I didn't really know that until like halfway in the race. Blaine said that and kind of told everyone by accident. So I was like, once everyone realized you can shift in 3 and 4, you get a better run off of 4. The car's tires will last a lot longer in the longer run.
Well, obviously, Dallas, a great run for you here tonight after the hard luck you had last week at Atlanta. This, of course, will put you back up into the conversation heading into North Wilkesboro next week for that points lead. And you survived Darlington, which I think is probably the goal a lot of drivers had, especially with the shenanigans we had in the early portions of this race. But we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Yeah, I'd like to thank you guys for again broadcasting this race week in, week out, and I'd like to thank my guys at Sim Performance Group, Seth Rawls Designs, Raz Energy, and it was a tough one, and I didn't think I'd make it through this far in this race.
Well, you certainly did. You bring it home with a podium run. That's Dallas Myhand, a tremendous third place finish here tonight at Darlington. Congrats on your run. We look forward to talking next week at North Wilkesboro.
Yep, thank you guys. Have a good night.
And in, I believe it was only his second start of the season, Hank Steinmiller is going to bring it home in the second position. Let's get a word with him. Hank, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me? And we'll see if we can try here again. Hey, Hank, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me, man? He may be AFK. We'll wait and see if we can get a word here with Hank, who I believe finished sixth last time out at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. We'll give it one more try here. Hank, you got us, man? Oh, we do have his mic is unmuted here, but we do not have sound coming through, so we will see if we can actually get a word with Hank here in a few moments. See if he can maybe get the audio issues fixed on his end. So we will instead, while we're waiting for that, we will move over to Victory Lane where Christopher Morse Jr. is standing by. Chris, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me?
Sorry about that, guys. I do have you.
Well, I mean, we got to go back to when that last caution came out. You were running 3.5 seconds back behind Gerald Campbell at the time. And then coming there on I think it was the first or second lap of that caution period, you're out in the race lead. What was going through your mind at that point when you saw the 31 duck to pit lane?
My first thought was he deserves to win this race. How do we fix it? And then my second thought is the guy who's in charge of everything and wants to keep it fair is, he knows the rules and he made the mistake, and I hate it for him, but I didn't want to. We're racing for money for the top 5, so I didn't want to knock the 5th guy back to 6th or anything like that because it just causes issues. I try to leave it on the track, but I mean, yeah, I can't believe it. I know I talked to him. He was confused because last week at Atlanta we had the natural green white checkered finish. So he was a little confused. He also runs elite, right before this, and I don't know if they run different rules or not, but yeah, just confusion on his part. I didn't deserve to win the race. He had it all day, um, but we'll take it. You know what I mean? I offered him the money. I'll give him the money. He deserves the money. I got to keep the points though.
Yeah, a win is still a win, and as you mentioned, I mean, you came into this race fourth in the point standings. This definitely moves you up there into the championship conversation. Even this early on in the season, the points are really, really close. I want to go back to like the beginning portions of this race, though, as well, because we saw quite a number of cautions early on. However, I think we only had about 5 cautions up to a point where we probably should have had about 8 or 9. A lot of incidents not bringing out yellow flags, but a lot of cars slipping and sliding around. What was it like from your standpoint?
The first 50 laps when I was up front, the car felt great. I got in the wall once, somewhere around lap 20, coming out of 2. It didn't really affect it, but I mean, I've ran so many laps at this track when it was official. It was this track for the iRacing official series. I ran probably 50 races here. I ran another league race a couple weeks back that was the same amount of laps here. So I thought I had a good chance if I could stay out front. Once you get behind traffic, though, it's a different ball game. I used my fast repair on accident. Had to lie the rest of the race to tell everybody I still had one. That way, nobody tried to stuff me in the wall. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I ended up in the lead at all. 'Cause when I spun myself off of turn 2 there and hit the inside wall, I thought the race was over. When I spun Jake, I thought the caution was going to come out and I was going to give myself the EOL. I totally deserved one. Can't apologize enough to him. But it is what it is, man. Somehow I ended up in victory lane. I'll take it.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that fast repair. You mentioned that you end up using yours early, but as opposed to last week in Atlanta, where we ended up having that late race caution, kind of have everybody breathe a sigh of relief that have been holding out their fast repair there. This was a track where we saw people up into the wall, a lot of damaged race cars all the way through the field. How much more difficult with the way that this track was damaging the race cars all the way through, of being able to kind of think about strategy of when to use that fast repair?
Well, I think every week, as far as the fast repair goes, it might be a little bit different somewhere like the plate tracks or when we go to Pocono or Michigan. But I think for the majority of these tracks, unless you have motor damage, unless you're down on horsepower, you really don't want to use that fast repair. If you've got 2+ minutes of damage that's just cosmetic, go ahead and fix it because the car's going to run just as fast. It might not handle as good, but there's no need to waste fast repair because eventually you're going to get the cautions and you're going to get it fixed up. I think that's what Blaine did at the beginning. I think he said at some point he had like a minute and a half worth of damage that he got fixed up, and after he got it fixed, he was up there running for the lead. So I think unless you have motor damage at most of these tracks, you don't want to use the fast repair. Uh, I've seen some of these guys when we get to like 50 laps to go use it just for the heck of it. I try not to use it at all, but yeah, unless you got motor damage, I don't think you really want to mess with it too much.
Well, Christopher Morris Jr. finds himself in victory lane here tonight at Darlington. Congratulations on your victory. It was a very interesting road to get to that point, but hey, you're down in victory lane. A win is still a win. It gets you some maximum points heading into North Wilkesboro, and we're going to let you do some shout outs now.
Absolutely. I want to thank Zach Onson. You guys saw him run last week. He couldn't make it here tonight, but he's Hijinx Clothing, the guys who jumped on board to sponsor the series for the rest of the season. So shout out to them. Shout out again to all the drivers for showing up. The field keeps growing every week, and it's awesome. The racing I feel like is the caution count could be a little bit lower, but the racing seems to be pretty solid. There's usually a lot of battle, and it got pretty spread out here, but I think that's just because everybody kept hitting the wall. North Wilkesboro next week should be fun. So yeah, shout out to you guys as well, and hopefully gaining momentum.
Yeah, North Wilkesboro definitely should be fun, but that's Christopher Morse Jr., your winner here tonight in the Southern 250. Congratulations. Go enjoy your victory.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
And I think, I think we just had a voice channel get moved. That's okay. But we ended up talking to Christopher Morse Jr., who ended up in victory lane. We're now going to talk to the guy who we thought was going to go to victory lane, but a little bit of a mistake, came to pit road under that caution period and subsequently gave up the lead, but he ends up finishing in the 8th position as a result. Let's get a word here with Gerald Campbell. Hey, Gerald, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me?
Yeah, I got you.
Well, we basically compared it to 1994, Mark Martin at Bristol, coming to pit road one lap too early. What happened there to you?
I just got confused. I thought there was green white checkers, and just got confused by last week's natural green white checkered. I for some reason thought that was a green white checker then, so I was let's just say the neighbors are awake with whenever I went down pit road and found out quickly as far as I screwed up with the big F word that came out of my mouth. I'm pretty sure 2 houses down probably heard that one, but I'm not running for points, and I don't really run for money. I just come out to have a good race and to race against good guys. So as much as it stinks, and as much as I would have loved to have won, uh, I'm still happy. I had a fun time. Still was able to show that I was fast, and as far as that goes, that's all I need to come back to the next week and keep my head up.
Well, we definitely saw that you had a strong vehicle here tonight. There were a couple of times where we thought maybe a caution was going to come out earlier than that. Obviously, you had to have been aware of the different incidents that were happening with cars spinning off of turn 2. I think we had a car get turned off of turn 2. I mean, at any point there, were you thinking, a caution is going to come out here and I'm going to have to defend this race lead on a late race restart?
That's what I was thinking whenever that last caution came out. I was like, all right, let's go down. I had clicked 2 tires. I'm like, I'm gonna do a 2-tire strategy, and I was all focused in on that. So yeah, I mean, my mind was already each lap was figuring out what was the best strategy with anything within like 10 to go. I was gonna go with 2 tires. Anything after that, I was gonna go with 4 tires because it was just gonna mean so much, and everyone was real tight for 10 laps. Everyone could be pretty close in time, and then it started to space out, and then the fast guys would run the fast laps and stay out front. And having the clean air was just such a big thing that and these cars, when you go down pit road, that pit crew, I don't know if they're drunk, but they do not run the same pit stop every single time. I think they switch positions as to who's going to change the tires, because sometimes you'll get a 17-second pit stop and sometimes you'll get a 22. So sometimes you go from first place and all the way back to like 4th or 5th place. And I was like, oh man, I hate leaving it up to that to determine the finish. And just didn't work out in my favor anyhow, so I didn't even have to worry about that point. I gave the pit crew the car and just got out and walked away.
Well, obviously, we know you would have loved to have been down there in victory lane, but as you said, just keep your head up. You were very competitive last week at Atlanta. You were competitive, obviously, here tonight at Darlington. We've got North Wilkesboro coming up, so hopefully we'll be able to talk to you in victory lane there.
Yeah, I just did a race before this race at North Wilkesboro with a lot of really fast guys, and I was leading a lot of laps in that race and running up front. And hopefully, I can take what I learned from literally today and apply it to next week, and see if I can be able to get myself a win. I don't think I'll even talk to the pit crew next week. I think I'll just I'm absolutely going to stay out for everything. I think I don't think I'll make that mistake again here, at least. So, yeah, it stinks, but had a fun time again. And man, what a crazy race! That was a crazy race. I think if you took every 50 laps and see who was leading, you didn't know who was going to win. Every 50 laps had a different person out front. So I was just the last 50, and then my time ended and expired before the finish line. So, but other than that, like I said, thank you guys, and I'll try to suck this one up.
Well, that's Gerald Campbell. He is going to finish, looks like officially 9th place here tonight. But again, Gerald, thanks for putting on a great show for us. The field, all the way through the field, the racing was competitive. And yeah, we look forward to talking to you next week at North Wilkesboro. Maybe you can make this loss a little bit sweeter next week with a W.
Yeah, I'll come back with a vengeance. I know I will.
And we now do have our 2nd place finisher, Hank Steinmiller, on standby. Hank, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got us this time?
Yeah, I think I got you.
There we go. Audio issues are fixed. You bring it home for your best finish of the season so far. 2nd place run, but back at the beginning stages of this race, You spent about the first 50, 60 laps, one lap down. Talk about the journey from -1 up to a podium finish.
There's about 8 cautions on that first lap, and the caution flag never waved. So I limped it around a lap down for, like you said, 60, I think almost 80 laps, honestly. And it seemed every time that we got a caution, I think the 8 car had just got past and was a lucky dog, and we could never get that wave around. But just trying to take care of what we had left and keep going.
Yeah, talk about those restarts because that's where we saw a lot of our passing take place. We saw, as you alluded to, a lot of those near cautions that didn't bring out the yellow flag. Just how wild were they from a driver standpoint?
Very unpredictable. There was a lot of cars that maybe didn't have as much practice time and were really easing it into turn one, while others knew you can almost go flat out really going into turn one off a restart, and it kind of stacked half the field up depending who you were behind and who you weren't. And then if you get side by side there, they're too loose to even run side by side much until they get later in the tire run. So I mean, you get your positions there, but that comes at a cost sometimes.
You know, we asked a number of the drivers previously this, and want to ask you the same thing with the fact of a lot of drivers were having difficulty with Darlington, which is typical of this racetrack. Just about everybody that comes here leaves with a souvenir of a Darlington stripe, but you guys had that one fast repair here this evening. How difficult was it of trying to figure out when was the best time to come down and use that fast repair?
I have yet to actually pull off a strategy on using the fast repair, because I think last week I used it on the first caution with 2 seconds of optional damage, forgetting to uncheck mark that, and I spent the first 4 cautions knowing I was uncheck marking it and then forgot to when I didn't want to use it. So always been using it when I didn't mean to, but I was trying to hold on to it till the end. I just happened to be able to keep it out of the wall and out of other cars for about the last 120 laps.
Well, Hank, you finished 6th last week at Atlanta. You better that by far here tonight with your best finish of the season of 2nd place after we saw the 31 come to pit road there nearing the end of this race. So a great run for you here this evening. And as we mentioned, kind of a long road to trek from the start of this race up to the finish. But you reap the rewards here tonight, some maximum points as well, finishing in the podium. We're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah, thank you guys for putting the broadcast together. Thank Chris for the league running. It's fun. Good drivers in here. And I don't have anything else really, but
Well, that's Hank Steinmiller. He brings it home P2 here this evening at the Lady in Black. Congrats on a great run. We look forward to you next week at the short track of North Wilkesboro.
thank you guys. See ya.
And so 187 laps in the books. And who would have thought that the biggest top story of the evening was going to take place on lap 183 under caution?
Yeah, that is the most shocking way to make a pass for sure at the end of a race. And, we're used to seeing maybe the last lap passes, but a pass under caution for the lead that gets you the win, you don't get to see it very often. And got to see it here tonight if you were able to stay up for the super long race.
It's going to be interesting to watch what the point stands look like going into next week at North Wilkesboro as well. The guys that came in 3rd and 4th in points finished 1st and 3rd. The guys that came in 1st and 2nd in points finished 7th and 12th. So the points will certainly be a little bit closer heading into a short track, which very much like Darlington tonight, it's going to be really all about track position.
Yeah, it's going to be all about getting up front, holding that position, and if there is any strategy to be involved, it's try not to be in the pit road that often and try not to get too much damage and save that fast repair for the last quarter of the race if possible.
Well, that's going to conclude our coverage here tonight from Darlington Raceway. This track, this race certainly did not disappoint, and a very unusual finish to the season here, or I'm sorry, to the race here tonight at the Lady in Black. The track too tough to tame. Now we know why it's got so many monikers. Next week, these drivers will be heading to North Wilkesboro Speedway, the short track, as they will be running the Save the Speedway 200 laps in the daytime conditions, and green flag will be scheduled to fly at around 9:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Once again, some stuff that's coming up here on this future week. Tyler Riggs, Michael Norman, they're going to have the final Elite Racing League call here for Flatout Racing Network tomorrow night over on speed51.com as they call the championship race at ISM, Phoenix International Raceway, for the Join APS.com Cup Series. Sam and I are going to have the call for Texas Motor Speedway on Thursday night for the Lone Star Indy 200 over in the Fuel Racetrack Designs IndyCar Series, and we'll be running side by side with Rolling Thunder Gaming's Talladega Challenge, as that race will be determining the final four to compete for the championship in next week's Thursday night extravaganza. But a lot more coming up. We've got the Rapid Fire Pizza Series. They're going to be running on Friday night. Saturday night, we've got the Soda Guys Cup Series. I believe we also have the call for FTF on Saturday night as well. So a lot of racing coming up here this week for Flatout Racing Network. But Sam, as always, appreciate you joining me for a rather long one here tonight at Darlington.
Yeah, it was eventful. It had its ups, it had its downs, but overall great racing, and it's always a pleasure, Seth.
Thanks to everybody that tuned in. You can finally go to bed. But for Samuel Dyer, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for tuning in tonight to another broadcast courtesy of the Flatout Racing Network.